Welcome to A Billion Realities. Here's your host, Jessica Gerlach. Welcome back to A Billion Realities. This is Jessica. Today we have Eric joining us on the show, sharing his incredible story of divine intervention after childhood trauma, PTSD, and addiction, and eventually his path to enlightenment. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how are you doing, and where are you located, just so our audience knows where you're joining us from?
I'm in New Jersey, northwest New Jersey, where New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania all comes together.
Nice. So that's actually pretty close to where we grew up. So, yeah, just so the audience also knows, we grew up in the same town. So we know a lot of the same people.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So how is the situation, before we get into your big story, how's the situation where you are? Are you guys feeling the coronavirus quarantine heavily, or?
I think, everybody's feeling it kind of, because, I know, 2 weeks ago when I went to the store, you could feel the energy in, the grocery store. You'd walk around, you could almost cut it with a knife, and, it was different, and, I've been home for 2 weeks. I haven't been working, and it was a big adjustment for me, because I'm a very active person. I wake up early in the morning to go to work, and my whole schedule changed, So
big switch. Yeah, that's
it's a big adjustment.
Definitely.
But it seems like people here are taking it very seriously now. You can see people walking around PPE when they do go out. They're being very strict on social gatherings. So, it's a good thing. There's a silver lining to all this. Big adjustment right now, a lot of anxiety. We've never been here before, so.
It's true. We've never experienced anything like this on any level, not even close. So it's definitely a shocker. So speaking of where we grew up, so you grew up in Port Jervis, is that correct?
Yeah, well, I was right outside of Port Jervis. I was on the Jersey side in Montague.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And, yeah, so they shipped us over into Port Jervis. We had a choice, either Votech or Port Jervis. I chose Port Jervis, so.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that they gave that choice back then. But
yeah,
I know a lot of
people.
people.
To the border, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of people from Montague that went to school with us as well. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was your upbringing like? Describe your childhood early on.
It's hard to say sometimes, because when you think back about it, it comes in bits and pieces, the early childhood. And, my parents got divorced before I can even remember. Grew up with my stepdad and my grandfather. And we lived in my grandfather's apartment, in Haledon. I guess my mom was saving money to buy a house. She put herself through nursing school, But I lived in an alcoholic family. My mother drank a lot, even though at the time I didn't really realize it. My mother drank a lot. My grandfather drank all the time. And it was kind of a chaotic household,
So
Um,
I just want to jump in real quick. So yeah, when you're really small child and you grow up with something, that's your normal. So we don't pick up on
exactly.
those. Yeah, we don't pick up on those things until we have something to start comparing it to. So
Yep.
at what point did you realize that your family had a problem?
When I was old enough to start sleeping over other people's houses and seeing how they lived, um, that's when I was like, oh, it's not like my house. And it was strange because I would feel more comfortable in other people's houses than I did at home.
That's
Because we
sad.
left Patterson, Halden area when I was 10. It got bad down there, with drugs and crime. And so we moved up to Montague, when I was about 10 years old, switched schools. And we all had to share a room with my little sister. I was 10, I was 11, she was 2, you know. So, but my grandfather was very, very abusive. But when he drank, he would just be with my mother, if she was around, the house was kind of normal, But if she was out
Oh.
working, she was an RN, so she worked a bunch of different hours. If she wasn't
Mhm.
home, it was like no holds barred on me. My stepfather never made me feel welcome. My grandfather would just beat me up any chance he got, And
Wow.
it's hard. I never felt safe at home. I never,
That's,
like, anytime I had to walk through the door to get something, like, I was on guard. My stepfather would be staring at me, just watching everything I did, huffing and puffing if I got something out of the fridge, like, God forbid I ate something. And, my grandfather
wow.
was he was just miserable, you know? And,
Mhm.
like I said, I found myself, if Mom wasn't home, I didn't come home. I would
That's
stay at my
such
friend's house, and it was funny. I would, like, call their mom's mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, hey, like,
wow.
I would have, like, 3 different mothers throughout the neighborhood. I'd go to my friend's house and hang out there.
Well, thank God for those moms, right? Like that's why I never
Yes.
reject any of my son's friends coming over. Like they'll have a tons of boys in my yard playing, and I'll feed them things and whatnot. I'm like, you don't know what kind of situation they have at home, so it might be their
Absolutely.
only chance to feel comforted or treated nicely or you don't know. I mean, they probably maybe they
Yeah.
all have amazing homes, but I don't know.
hmm
I know.
And,
Well, actually,
the
yeah, the
sorry, go ahead.
anxiety that no, it's I was just saying the anxiety that you grew up thinking was normal in your own home, which should have been a safe haven and your comfort zone, right? That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah. So
I didn't even have my
anyway,
own room. Like, I had to share it with my sister. So it was like, it
so
was
what
just,
was the abuse like with your grandfather like? Like what kind of things would set him off and what would he do to you?
oh, me just walking through the door would set him off. He'd be drunk and mad and miserable at something, and he would just start wailing on me. I remember one time he kicked me through my closet door, and if he wasn't, either that or he'd be telling me I'm a piece of crap, I'll never amount to nothing. He was just never nice to me ever.
Wow. How
And
old were you
there's like,
when
oh
he was
man,
doing that?
I remember one time I was probably 6 or 7.
Oh my gosh.
And I never knew anybody from his family, but I guess one of his brothers came over. I remember this instinctively. Like, I don't remember a lot, but this sticks in my mind. I remember his brother came over to visit him, and, he's drinking. And I remember I just went to look out the window. We lived on the second floor. I went to look out the window. I looked out, and he just got up and just started smacking me with his knuckles in the back of my head, just beating on me. And his brother stops and looks at him and goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "This kid's going to grow up to hate you." And that always stood in my mind because I hated him. And,
Wow, of course.
so it was, but I didn't know anything else. That was just the way it is, you know?
Right. But you
Like you said,
also
you
know that
kind of just think, oh, this is normal.
it didn't feel right and that it was not a happy situation,
Oh,
even
no,
though it
absolutely
was
not.
familiar to you. So at
Yeah.
what point did you remember questioning, like, why did I get this situation? Why did those other people get this normal, comfortable, happy situation, and like, why did I get this? Did you ever remember questioning that?
Yes and no. I don't know if it was like a poor me. I think it was more like I just wanted to escape. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be there. And the weird thing about this was if I just told my mother, for some, like in the beginning, she would have stopped it. But for some reason I didn't. Like I didn't want to cause any turmoil. I just kind of, I stuffed it. Everything that was happening to me, I kind of just stuffed it down. And it wasn't until I was about 18 when all that just started pouring out like a volcano. You can only stuff so much before there's no more room left. That's about the time I started sneaking in my mother's closet. She always had boxed wine, and she always had gin. And
okay.
I hated them both, but I would plug my nose and I would suck that down. And if I got enough of it in me, all that madness in my mind would just go away. And I would kind of feel like just comfortable for a change. And it was, I kind of related that to alcohol, to comfort and love. Because there wasn't many hugs in my house. I didn't really, no one really, I didn't get hugged that much. I don't ever remember my stepfather hugging me. I mean, he showed me how to work on things. He wasn't a complete a-hole, but there wasn't a lot of love. And
that's different because stepdads, they might teach you things, some of them, but when there's no example of love, like you said, that connection is lacking, and that creates like such a permanent void later on in life. But let me take you back to this real quick, and then we can continue on. I'm just curious. Do you think that because you grew up with your grandfather abusing you so badly from the time you can remember, you can't remember him not doing that? Do you think that's part of the reason? Do you think that's part of the reason why you never told your mother? It was almost like, we go into a sort of state of hypnosis when something becomes so common for us. It's our normal. So it's almost like you're not going to go tell her something as if something randomly new happened and it was abusive.
Wow, you know what? That's so interesting you say that. You actually gave me goosebumps. I never thought about it that way. I think you're kind of right.
Okay, because I was thinking about that when you were talking about it, and for some reason I had this analogy, like I know this is going to sound weird, but when you boil a frog slowly, it doesn't know it's being boiled, right? Isn't there that concept? So it's like there was no shock in it. That was like, oh my God, something bad happened. It was just normal.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah.
So it makes sense to me why you didn't talk to her about it, because you probably just grew up thinking it was normal. On a subconscious level, you had accepted it until you hit a breaking point, right? So
yes, I did hit a breaking point. Yep.
So was that breaking point that you hit when you started drinking, stealing your mom's wine and gin?
Yeah, it's the breaking point was kind of it was a culmination of things. I had no coping skills. Remember one night I was drinking and my mom in the kitchen, everybody's asleep, and I put a knife to my wrist, and I was in so much pain. And I just, I wanted to end the pain. I just didn't know how to do it, and I remember I couldn't do it, I was like,
and
I couldn't. I was like, I probably 15 years old.
Oh my, that's so wow. It's just like unreal to think of a 15-year-old feeling that way because of their
and it was just I had no outlet, and and it was weird. At that time I was getting bullied in school. I had a long walk to the bus stop. I would get bullied at the bus stop. I would get bullied at school, and I had a bully in the neighborhood. And then one day, man, I was like a volcano. I exploded, and my bully confronted me, and I beat him up. So I was like, oh, wow, that has something to it. you know. So a couple of days later, I went walking in the door. My grandfather went to attack me. He has polio. He had polio since he was 17, so his arms were kind of deformed.
Okay.
So he would kind of like ball his arms up. He had a big ring, and he would smack you in the face and the head with his big-ass ring. I walked in and tried doing that, and I was just like, now I'm bigger and older, you know. I remember grabbing him, throwing up against the wall, and I knocked all the plates off my mom's wall. You know, she comes running out, because I'm choking him, right? I'm like, I'm going to kill you. Like, it just all blew up. I'm choking him.
Years of abuse, yeah.
Yeah. Now I got my hands around his throat. My mom comes out like, what's going on? So, you know, I tell her everything. And then she was like, that's it. She told my grandfather, you're done drinking. She goes, you take one drink, you're out of the house, you know.
Wow.
And it kind of stopped after that. You know, he kind of was an a-hole, but he wasn't, you know, the abuse kind of stopped. And it was a bad thing to me because it taught me two things early on, which weren't necessarily true. It taught me alcohol and violence would solve my problem. And
right.
That affected me later in life. You know.
I bet.
And I didn't know how to deal with situations besides alcohol or violence.
You know, it's interesting how a lot of abusers, they always abuse those who can't stand up for themselves or aren't as strong as they are. They're weaker. And then once you stand up to them, or somebody does, they stop. And that shows so much weakness in a character.
Mm-hmm.
In character, you know. So, sorry to interject, but I had to throw that out there. So, at what point did you end up leaving that house, and what was your journey like upon leaving and getting out of that toxic environment?
Yeah, well, I was going through high school, you know, and I'm just like, I just got to get through high school, you know, and I really had no plans. I had no goals. High school, I hated every second of high school. I hated going there, you know. I just would stare at the window and fall asleep, and I would get suspended. I was fighting in school, you know, just being generally disruptive, you know, doing what I wanted. And it was just, you know, I remember my mom giving me this box a couple years ago of, like, transcripts from school. You know, like, Eric's in detention, Eric's skipping school, Eric's now in school suspension, Eric's now skipping the in-school suspension, we're going to suspend him. We're now sending Eric to a Scared Straight program. You know, it was just like, it just got worse and worse. It was like a cry for help, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my mom, she has her own problems. You know, she was drinking and, you know, doing her own stuff. And, you know, I just never got addressed. You know, so luckily, you know, I remember going to the Scared Straight program. They all bring us to Otisville State Penitentiary. And I'm laughing in my head. I said, I'm never going to go to jail. This is bullshit, you know. And I'm like, oh, you know, and I'm just laughing. They bring the prisoners in and they fake attack somebody. I'm like, this is a joke. I saw right through it. You know, I've always been very intellectual, you know. And,
well, you were probably very insightful into, like, that type of behavior. You weren't naive, that's for sure, because look what you grew up with. So you could see probably
I knew
all
if you're
that.
serious about her harming somebody or not. You guys were not serious. It was an act, you know. So I thought it was a joke, and I laughed it off. And lo and behold, I get arrested for assault this summer between my junior and senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
And, so it was like whammo, you know. And I remember I did like almost the whole summer in juvie, you know. And I remember just listening to those bars close, you know, and it was just like a rude awakening. I remember just sitting there and going, you know, it was only 60 days. But I remember being like, I don't ever want to be here again, you know, like,
wow,
this is the place I don't want to be, you know.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Yeah, it sucked. You know, and so I graduated high school barely, but I graduated in summer school, you know.
Okay.
So I wouldn't do any homework. You know, I would do, So the girl I was dating all through high school, or for most of high school, her father was an elevator guy. And he was like, because I was going to join the Army. I was talking to an Army recruiter. I was going to join airborne, go to airborne school, jump out of airplanes.
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, I was always into the military when I was a kid. So my mom used to threaten me with that. I'm going to send you to military school. I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. And
That's hilarious.
you know, the military school would be a vacation from this place. You know.
Of course.
Yeah. But
well, okay, so
yeah. So anyway,
wait. So is that why you wanted to join the services, because you wanted to have like a normal structured environment, or was there another driving force behind that?
I didn't really think about it like that at that moment. Well, the reason why I really wanted to join was ever since I was little, I was just obsessed with like World War II. I would build World War II bombers. There was something inside me that was always like attracted to the military, you know.
Okay. Probably
and
the
I
lack
just
of
it was
structure that you had in
yeah.
your childhood, and subconsciously you were drawn towards. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Your story,
Yeah.
though. So you were drawn to it.
Yeah. So anyway, the guy that I was dating his daughter, he was in the Army, and he didn't want me to leave and take his daughter, blah blah blah. So he gave me. He said I started working with him for Local 1 elevator constructors in New York City, and
Okay.
this is a good job. It pays well. Started working with him, and this job's great, you know, because my drinking at 18, 19, I'm already a professional drinker. Okay.
Yeah, you were drinking at home already as a kid, right?
Drinking at home. On my senior year of high school, I was sneaking in vodka and orange juices. See, here's the thing with my family. They would never give me money for lunch money. I remember, I don't know, you might remember me in the freaking cafeteria going, hey, can I get $1? Can I get 50 cents? Can I get a quarter? That's how I would get my lunch money.
Oh, that's so sad. I don't remember that about you.
Kids. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. But a lot of kids did that though, because not everybody, you know, it was common, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah.
But I would always bring my vodka and orange juice to school if I could. But you know, I wouldn't know what I was eating for lunch. But you know, I figured that out later. But anyway, this Local 1 job, you know, these guys. It's a construction, you know, they build elevators on construction sites in Manhattan. And these guys drink, you know. 9 o'clock in the morning, they're sending me out to get beers already. I'm like, this job's great, you know. Coming here, making good money, you know, we're drinking. And this is the problem. I never had a father figure in my life, you know. So
right.
So now I'm looking up to these guys. Like they're my father, you know, and these guys are just humble, don't take no crap, hardcore drinkers. And I'm like, oh, I guess that's how. I never got taught how to be a man. I'm like, I guess that's how you're supposed to be a man, you know. So
right.
That's what I became. I doubled down on the aggression, you know. I doubled down on the drinking, and I was able to move out. I moved out as soon as I could. As soon as I got my money together, I moved out of my house. Yeah, I'm like, I'm out.
So basically what you're saying is the whole toxic masculinity thing was what, you know, you ended up thinking was what being a man was.
Yeah.
Because you never had a role model of any of it, really.
Nope. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was it was that, and it was when I went into the Marines, you know, because I was doing this Local 1 elevator job, making a lot of money. And then the girl that her father got me into the business, we dated for like 3 years. And then she started going off to college. And you know what happened. She's out in college doing, you know, her thing. And then, you know, I find that she's cheating on me. And that, like, broke something inside of me because I was really close with her family. Her family was like my family now. And then when we broke up, that, like, broke something inside of me. Like, I lost. And I went on this roller coaster of booze and alcohol that, I can't even explain to you. My apartment became party central. You know, any drug or drink you could think came through that door, and we tried them all. You know, and it didn't take long. To get thrown out of there. You know, the landlord comes down. He's like, look, guys, she had 2 kids upstairs. I don't blame him now when I think about it, you know. But he came down one day. He's like, well, you guys got to go, you know. And we were friends. Like, where am I going to go? So I got a good idea. You know, my grandmother lives by Patterson. I'm going to go down there. You know, I'm close to work. You know, I can get my dry goods easier, and it'll be okay. You know.
Mhm.
So, you know, I started living with my grandmother down in I was living in her basement down in Patterson, going to work. But now I'm lonely. I don't have any friends. I feel alone. The breakup was still destroying me. Like, I wasn't dating women, you know, like I was just like I had no interest.
Mhm.
And
You're
between
depressed.
drinking, yeah, and all the drugs I was consuming, I got in this bad mental state, you know, and I went to go see a shrink. I couldn't take it anymore.
Wow.
And of course, I'm not honest with them. I'm not telling them how much I'm drinking. I'm not telling them what the drugs I'm doing. You know, so they writes me a script for whatever, like Zoloft or whatever antidepressant. And I'm taking that. I'm drinking, and I'm still partying hard. And I mean, I don't know if you could say what kind of stuff I was doing. Is that?
Oh, you can because it's
okay.
it's not in the present, so you can. It's the past.
Okay.
You can say.
All right.
Yeah, you can.
So yeah, at this point, it's I used to love cocaine. My friends were really into heroin. I didn't like it. I liked uppers. I was an upper person. I didn't like weed. You know, everybody who smoked weed. Weed would just make me super paranoid. I'm like, I don't know how anybody enjoys that. You know, I'm in the corner. I take 2 hits. I'm in the corner thinking everybody's laughing at me. You know,
it triggers anxiety in some people, or paranoia. Yeah, straight up. But that's not for everyone.
I have plenty of it. Yeah. So I like to drink and do uppers. You know, and somebody was like, well, if you like cocaine, why don't you try rock? And I'm like, oh, let me try that. And the first time I did it, I was like, man, if I'm not dead, I'm doing this again, you know?
Wow.
Because, it was pretty good. And, it started off like, oh, I'll just do it on the weekends, and then it was like, all right, Tuesday, and then next thing I know, I couldn't drive by the project where I happened to stop, and that's when I knew I was in trouble. And now I'm taking this antidepressant medication, and one night, luckily I was with my friend, I ended up ODing, a mixture of cocaine, heroin, alcohol, and the antidepressant.
Wow, what a crazy mix. That's scary.
Yeah. So it scared the crap out of me. I mean, I woke up in Newark Hospital. I woke up, there's tubes all in me.
Who found
I wake
you?
up, I start freaking out. I'm ripping tubes out of me. There's a thing going bang, bang, bang behind me. The nurses trying to hold me down. They're like, you OD'd, relax. So I'm like, I got to get out of here. They're like, you can't leave. You're not getting enough oxygen. You could pass out when you leave. I said, I don't care. I made a big deal. You can't keep me here. It's against my rights. I signed myself out and walked out the door.
Who found you in the first place?
Huh?
Who found you? OD.
I was with my friend. We went down. We went down to Newark, got our stuff. We did it, and as we were leaving Newark, he went to say something to me, and my lips were blue, and I was leaned over, and he was like, uh-oh. And instead of dumping me, he was a good friend, because a lot of people would dump people on the side of the road. He drove me to the hospital,
Thank God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you think that would scare somebody to stop, But, and it did for like a week.
A week
only. A week. A week later, I'm starting to dabble again. And I'm like, man, I'm going to die. I'm going to die, And
wow.
I really didn't know what else to do. So, it was like weird. I know I wanted to join the military. I started flipping through the yellow pages, and I saw the Marine Corps recruit in the yellow pages. And I'm like, screw it, I'm joining the Marines. So I call him up the next day, and the recruiter's like, all right, you can you pass the drug test? I'm like, in a couple of days I can. And he was like, all right, well, in a couple of days, come down here, and we'll do a PT, and we'll check you out, So, I went down there, and, I ran, did the physical, everything, and they're like, yeah, you're good to go. Like, when do you want to leave? I'm like, tomorrow. He's like, what? I'm like, I want to leave as soon as possible. What do you got for me? And he was like, well, we got a machine gunner job open. I'm like, awesome. Love machine guns. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. You were like, finally,
So,
some structure and some guns in my life.
yeah, guns. Yeah, what's better than this? More violence. I mean, like, I'll make a great Marine.
Oh.
Alcohol. I run on alcohol and violence. I made a great Marine.
Yeah.
So what happened was I guess
I just
this
want
is a little
I just want to
personal.
ask you. Sorry, I just wanted to ask you one thing. So, weren't you scared of the come down, like the withdrawal of signing up and going through that detox process, or were you not that physically addicted to any one thing because you were just mixing so many different things?
Yeah, I was mixing so much that I would have like a bad 3-day hangover, but it wasn't necessarily a detox. All right,
Okay.
like I wasn't there yet.
Okay, so you
So
actually joined before it got to that point, which was very
yeah,
smart.
I mean I was there. I was close.
Okay.
So but yeah, I didn't get the machine gunner job. They ended up giving me a helicopter mechanic job because I scored high in the ASVAB, and they said they like to have the guys that score lower on the test to be machine gunners. You know what I'm saying? They want the guys that are a little bit smarter to fix things. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise because at that time, it was October 2002. The Battle of Fallujah was going on, and a lot of guys were getting killed and maimed. And probably God did me a favor by not making me a machine gunner.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So anyway, get to the Marines, and if you never detoxed in Marine Corps boot camp, that's a wonderful experience. I remember just getting there, I'm like, what the hell did I do? I'm getting screamed at, yelled at. And, it was weird. You ever watch Full Metal Jacket?
Yes, what a crazy movie.
Yeah.
And I was just going to ask
like
you.
that, but
Okay.
Marine Corps boot camp is more violent. Like,
I was
you think
ask.
Full Metal Jacket's bad? No, it was, when I went, it was more violent than that. Within the fourth day there. What are you going to say?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Did it trigger you?
My fourth day there, my drill instructor already threw me through my rack, choked me. I'm like, well, I feel right at home. Other people are freaking out. I'm like, this is nothing. Whatever.
Oh man.
So, but I loved it. I loved being a Marine. It's the best thing I ever did. Commitment, things I never had, structure, how to make a bed, and something that I really lacked was just self-discipline and what's the word I'm looking for here? Just being self-confident.
Right.
Because I was always like had my head down, and I didn't want to be a center of attention. I think everybody's laughing at me, and they really build you up when you're in there. Like you're a United States Marine, you're the best of the best, you're a fighting machine, and it's amazing what they can do to an individual 12 weeks.
And plus, you were used to being torn down completely, so it's not a surprise that you had that lack of self-worth before going in.
Yeah.
But then you went in, and they kind of tear you down at first, but then they build you up.
Yes.
So that's something that you hadn't ever experienced before.
No. And that leads me to my second point was that is, again, I look at them as like father figures, because after all the BS is done and they're done torturing you, they do really, again, I thought being a man was this ultra macho, I'll punch you in the face if you don't say what I like crap, and it was just between that construction, that's what I thought being a man was, drinking and fighting and drinking, and I like being a Marine, but and I patted myself on the back because I stopped doing drugs the whole time I was in the Marines. I didn't touch drugs once, but every chance I got really drunk, really drunk. Like my roommates would ask me, "Think you have a drinking problem? You blacked out and you peed in the Foot Locker. It's crazy." I'm like, nah. I won't drink tequila, or it was this, or I didn't eat. It's always an excuse.
Yep.
But but it was a good experience. Being a Marine probably saved my life. because
Right.
it taught me things that I didn't normally have. But after, a while of being a Marine, I got sick of being told what to do, and
Mhm.
they were getting ready to go to Afghanistan, and they're like, oh, I was getting out. They're like, you want to re-enlist? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, we'll give you sergeant, to re-enlist. I'm like, no, I don't want it. I'm good. I'm not even. I was like demotivated at that point, I was getting. You can't even go on. You can't go anywhere without their permission. I was getting sick of like the hurry up and wait, all the stuff that comes with the military. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back home. I had the elevator job waiting for me. I knew I had a good job waiting for me. There was nothing really keeping me there anymore. It served its purpose,
Okay, let me ask you one thing. So when
Okay.
when you were in the Marines, and obviously you felt this newfound self-confidence, self-worth, they built you up, but you still were destroying yourself with alcohol. So how do you explain that? Why do you think you kept drinking that heavily, even though you were, part of yourself was feeling better, but there was obviously another part of you that wasn't?
Yes, and it's funny. I didn't realize it until years later, until I got hypnotized for smoking.
Mhm.
And the woman's like, "Why do you keep smoking?" And it was like, I was quiet for like 3 minutes, and all of a sudden it came out. I said, "Self-destruction." There was still something inside me that hated me. I
Right.
didn't like myself. I had like this deep-seated. I was very confident and blah 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 blah, but at the same time, I just didn't like myself. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like
on
I didn't.
a subconscious level.
Yes, and I was emotionally twisted. Like it was hard for me to have relationships with people. I created love with sex, and I didn't know how to be loved or accept love. It was just weird. And
Because that all stems back to the trauma that you grew up with, absolutely. And the heavy drinking and the continuing to do damaging things to yourself. I've had to learn this too, that those are all the results of unhealed trauma. So you went to the Marines and you fixed the conscious aspect of yourself and maybe part of the subconscious by feeling better about yourself in your day-to-day life. But the subconscious,
yes,
because that wasn't dealt with yet.
And it's funny because looking back at it now, I still needed the alcohol. I didn't need to get drunk every day, but I needed to catch a buzz all the time just to feel comfortable in my own skin. Like the self-confidence wasn't enough. It was just still this underlying uncomfortability that I had. And it's just hard to describe. Like just uncomfortable in your own skin a little bit. But So anyway, I get out of the Marines. I start living in Jersey City because it's close to New York. Had like a 5-minute commute, really nice. Jersey City was an awesome city back then. Now it's too expensive; you can't afford it. But
I lived there. But
I'm just bound. Yeah, but I had an apartment with my friends. We were partying all the time, and I just hung out with people who partied like me. And people who thought like me, and like, if you didn't drink, I didn't trust you. That's one of my grandfather had a few different sayings that always stuck with me. And it was like, don't trust anybody that doesn't drink, and you don't trust anything that bleeds for a week and doesn't die. And it took me years to figure out what he meant about that. I'm like, what the hell? He would tell me that when I was 9. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? And I get older, I was like, oh.
Oh, wow. That's brutal that he told you that as a 9-year-old.
Those are his 2 gems of wisdom that he left me with. Thanks.
That's brutal there. Like.
Yeah. But, I'm in Jersey City. I got some friends, I'm hanging out, but I'm just lonely. Inside me, I just have this loneliness that just kind of just doesn't go away. And I'm kind of like going from relationship to relationship, and I'm just meeting like girls that are just constantly trampling on my heart because I'm meeting them in bars. I'm meeting women who like to party like me.
Right.
And that's not necessarily, wifey material.
Yeah,
So I
they're
remember
just
telling
in
my
the bars and hooking up and that
yeah.
culture, right?
Yeah. So it's like I'm just depressed. I would get bouts of depression, come out of it, it's back and forth. But like drinking still wasn't a problem. So anyway, I thought anyway. Like there would be random times we'd go on vacation, I'd wake up naked in a hallway peeing in a plant. But that was, I had too much tequila or I didn't eat or there was always the excuse.
Yeah. We've all
And
been there, trust me.
oh man. Oh, the drunkological life. But anyway, I remember telling. So I remember we're drinking with my friend. I remember telling him man, I just need a good girl. That's all I need. He looks me dead in the eyes. This is the most honest thing he ever said to me. He goes, "What does a good girl want with you?" And I was just like, "Holy crap!" It cut through every one of my defenses.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, because I thought about really, what do I got to offer her? Drunkenness and chaos? What do I got? Because I'm still Mr. Marine. I'm ultra macho. I'm drinking in the bar. If you piss me off, I'm ready to throw down. And
right.
and if I'm with my friends, I'm a pleasure. But if I don't know you, you piss me off, I'm not a nice person. So this goes on, and it's just weird. I remember I was in a relationship, and of course that didn't work out. And I remember I'm sitting on a bar stool and just like, all right, God, all right. And I didn't really believe in God too much. I didn't really pray too much. But I'm like, all right, by the time I'm 30, I want to be married and have a house. It was one of those weird things I just thought about it. And it was weird because a year and a half later, I ended up meeting this woman, everything I said I wasn't going to do. I wasn't going to date a girl I met in a bar and that was younger than me. And I ended up meeting this girl in this bar, and but there was something about her, and she was just, I don't know, she was something different. And, we went on the first date, and I always thought that, love at first sight, a true love, I thought that was bullshit. I thought that was fairy tale, Disney stuff. But after a couple of times of going out on a date with this girl, I was head over heels with her. I'm like, I'm gonna marry this girl. That's crazy, Eric. What are you talking about right now? But there was a genuine quality about her. She's one of those people her soul shines through. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell she's just a genuine, honest, person. So plan was she was still in college. She was got to go out to California. And I was all upset. I'm like, whatever, you want to come back, I'll buy you a plane ticket. And, she said that was what did it for her. No one ever opened the car door for her. I guess she dated a lot of jerks, too. No one opened the car door for her. No one bought her a drink before. And when I offered to buy her the plane tickets back, she wanted to be with me. So we're dating. Now I'm like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. All right? I'm in love. All those feelings that I had went away, melted away. Completely head over heels in love. We get married 2 years later. By the time I am exactly 30, I get married and buy the house. Bang, bang, bang. I'm like, wow, that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, go by. And, I got this emptiness inside of me. It just keeps coming back. And I thought she could fill it, that could fill it, and just this emptiness inside of me. And I'm drinking more, I'm starting to do all my old behaviors. I'm isolating down in I made a man cave in the basement, remember my grandmother's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm isolating. I'm in the man cave. I'm drinking. And no matter what I did, I'm just falling into this depression, and I can't be happy. So I start seeing it shrink again. And talking about my grandfather and this and that, and they gave me some medication. They're like, you can't drink with the medication. So I took it for a little bit. My mother, she was like, the dose he's got you on, if you drink with this, your liver's going to get destroyed. So I threw the medication in the garbage, I'll use my medication. I'll drink. But at this point of my drinking career, the alcohol wasn't really doing it for me anymore. You know, it wasn't. We would have parties. Like, I used to love to have people come to my house. We'd have parties. We'd have giant slip and slide parties and this and that, because I would feel part of and happy. People want to come to my house and have a good time, you know? Mm-hmm. And, hello?
Yeah?
Oh, I thought I lost you for a second.
Nope, I'm here.
But after a while, like, the alcohol wasn't doing it for me. I would have a house full of people, very close friends, and I would feel just so alone. Like, everybody around me loves me, and I would just feel so alone. I remember a couple times I'd be wasted with my head, like, on the counter. Everybody's having a good time. And my wife's going, Eric, go to bed. And I'm like, no, I'm having a good time. She's like, you don't look like you're having a good time. You know, it was just like I was on a downward spiral. So now I'm starting to mix, because the alcohol's not doing it. Well, maybe if I do it, maybe if I just drink vodka, maybe if I do this. Nothing I could do could bring back that feeling of fulfillment, security, whatever you want to call it, it used to give me. So now I start mixing opiates, pain pills with it. You know, and now I can get a lot of stuff done. You know, you gave me 2 Vicodins and some vodka. Holy crap. You know, they're like uppers for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll build the smoke clears. There's a chicken coop built in the backyard, you know? So
I've seen people do that on pills. Like, they start cleaning, and they start organizing things. It has that effect on certain people.
Yeah, so now I'm drinking, doing the pills, downward spiral, not happy. So I'm like, well, I've done everything in my life. I got the good job. If you drove past my house, okay, and you look down like, oh, my God, look, he's got a couple cars in the driveway. He's got toys. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a nice – they're like, that guy's got it made. But I'm dying inside. On the outside, everything's fine. On the inside, I'm fucking dying.
Wow.
And it just goes to show you, like, I'm trying to fill this hole inside me with things. Maybe if I buy a quad. I remember I bought an Audi, and I liked the Audi for like 6 months, and then I just never cleaned it ever again. And it was just like, no matter what I bought or tried to fill that hole inside me, it could never get filled. So I was like,
I call that the insatiable void.
Yeah.
It is. It's from trauma. Mm-hmm. It absolutely. Yep. So you buy a bunch of things, and that only lasts for so long because it's a high.
The sign of it wears off very fast, and then you're just left with the emptiness again, you know?
Yeah.
And people try to fill that with all sorts of things, you know, whether it be shopping, alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, you know, whatever commodity there is on the planet, you know, people try to use that. Facebook, movies, you know, it's crazy what we try to avoid the suffering with, and you know, I'll get to what filled that for me, but later. But so now I'm like, all right, well, I've done all those things. I go, maybe if I have a kid, that's the next step, right, in life. Like, you get married, you get the house, you're supposed to have a kid. So I'm like, all right, we'll have a kid, and I'll be happy. That's how it works.
That people think that, but.
So, you know, we get pregnant. You know, she has the baby. Like, we're at the hospital, and there was like a break. She's like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a sandwich. So I go right to the bar, slam some drinks, do a couple shots, you know, eat my sandwich, come flying back. And now she's ready to give birth, you know. So holding one leg, screaming, you know, push. You know, the baby comes out. And I'm thinking, you know, when the baby's born, this is what's going to heal me. You know, like the clouds are going to part, sunbeams are going to come down, the angels are going to start singing. I'm going to be cured. I'm going to feel something, and I'm going to be happy. Because at this point, you know, I drank my whole life to get rid of feelings and emotions, you know, and it worked so well that I didn't have any emotions left. The only emotion I had left was rage. You know, at this point, if she pissed me off, I would throw our furniture, our living room furniture, off the back deck into the backyard, like an insane person.
Yeah, and, that's unhealed trauma again.
Yeah,
gotta say it.
Yeah, you know, and that was another thing. Cause, I remember the psychologist tried to they said you had PTSD. And I'm like, well, from my childhood, because I had all the symptoms. You couldn't touch me when I was sleeping. I would wake up swinging, violent. Half the symptoms that on the list I had.
No surprise there after what you've been through, Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, the kid's born, and I'm expecting, the angels apart, the clouds depart, light to come down, the angels start singing. And there was none of that. I remember holding my son. I'm just looking at him. I feel nothing. And I'm just like, just no mouth to feed. And that's when I was like, I'm fucked. Like, I am screwed. I'm done. There's nothing that can make me happy. I've tried the psychologist. I've tried the consumerism stuff. I've tried falling in love. I tried buying the house, the kids, the job, nothing, So
because you were looking spiral. You were looking for outside circumstances to fill the void, but really it had to be within you. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
So this is a turning point for you. So you're like, I did all of these things that are supposed to make people happy, but here I am feeling like crap still.
Exactly.
So is that when you went to a therapist?
Not really. I was kind of done with therapists. I was kind of done with everything. I'm just kind of like, well, there's no point to it. I just started getting as fucked up as I could. I just started like drinking and I was spiraling out of control because I went from a person that I would drink as soon as I woke up until I went to bed. I could drink all day long and be fine. But now I could have a couple beers and I would black out. I don't know if my liver was just saturated or what was going on, or if that was just, life's way of saying it's time to give it up. Because I never really, before this, I never had any signs to give it up. I mean, I got pulled over drinking a few times, probably like 5 times, but my military ID always got me out of it. The cops always respected my military ID and let me go.
And that became a crutch for you, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I can get away with anything. And so now it's bad. I'm becoming the person I hated most in my life. I'm becoming my grandfather. I'm verbally abusive. I'm everything but physically abusive. There was a 50-50 shot on Saturday morning when I woke up if my wife and the kid were going to be there, because she started going to Al-Anon at this point, which I didn't know. And, they told her, if he starts getting, starts yelling and being, just leave, And it worked. It kind of worked because it kind of, like, disturbed me when she wouldn't be here,
Right, because you don't remember what happened, and then you wake up and no baby and no mama either.
Exactly. So this went on for a couple months. And then, she was getting fed up with me. She was like, I'm pretty sure she was getting ready to be like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
But I remember this one night, I guess it was Saturday morning, came home with a bottle of Tito's, and woke up, and I'm like, she's not there, the kid's not there, and this time it was just a different feeling. I had like this different knot in my stomach. I'm like, something inside me was like, you really did it this time, Yeah. So I'm calling her, she wouldn't pick up the phone all day. She went the next day she picks up the phone, and she was like, you remember what you did? And I'm like, no. She's like, you went in EJ's room, and she goes, in a blackout, and you peed in his crib with him in it. And when she told me that, I felt like a monster. And I felt like now I'm a danger to my son.
Right.
And that's when I honestly told her, I said, look, I'm done. I'm done drinking. I give up. I don't want to drink anymore. I'm done. So she comes home, and I honestly meant that. And 3 days later, I'm driving home. I see the liquor store. Without even thinking, I pull right in. Get my stuff. Because I'm the kind of guy now where I got to drink all the time. If I'm not drinking, I'm getting panic attacks. So I got tall boys between my legs. I got airplane shots, hidden underneath the seats. You know, I'm drinking and driving.
Wow.
You know, I come home and she looks at me. She goes, 3 days? You're drunk already? She goes, why are you drunk? It was the first time in my life I looked at her in the face and said, I don't know. It was the first time I realized that I have a problem. You know?
Wow.
So.
Because even that incident with your son in the crib, you know, that wasn't even enough to jolt you out of it. So
No.
I'm sure that was pretty shocking for you even. You know, like I can understand you driving to the liquor store and it's just like force of habit. It's your usual routine almost. But the fact that that incident with your son didn't interrupt it is what really showed you that, okay, like I'm seriously headed for disaster.
How powerful the addiction was. Like I kept kidding myself. It's funny how delusional you are when you're in an addiction. Your addicted life seems the only normal one. Like the weird. Like I thought it was completely normal to drive with a vodka bottle underneath my seat. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be driving and someone would see it and they'd be like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, just don't worry about that. It's not, why are you driving around?" You know, like it was weird. To me, it was perfectly normal. You know?
Right.
So, you know, you get deluded, you know, into thinking all of this stuff that you're doing is completely normal when it's not, you know.
And to be honest, you were really lucky too, because you could have killed yourself or another family, and
absolutely,
luckily nothing like that. You know, somebody was protecting you. You know, upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's one thing I wasn't a very spiritual person, but I always felt like I had a guardian angel, you know.
You can feel that.
But yes, there was a couple times in my life where I was like, wow, I just got saved. You know, between, you know, being a kid and playing speed racer on those, remember the roads, you know, up by our high school, all the twisty, windy roads, and
yes,
you know, I'd be racing down those, and then the dangerous elevator job, you know, I almost got killed, and it was just a few times, you know, and I was like, wow, you know, I got saved.
Wow.
But yeah.
Okay, so you're having this moment where you're like, oh my God, I have a problem. So what do you do?
Well, I was kind of dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do, you know. But then I realized, you know, one of my friends that I went to, he grew up in my neighborhood in Montague, lived down the street from me. He lives in the town I live in now. And someone told me that he went to this thing called AA, and he stopped drinking, you know. So I called him up, and I'm like, yeah, I think I got a problem with alcohol. I'm like, you know, could you bring me to one of those? And he's like, sure, you know. Comes, picks me up, brings me to a meeting. We go into the basement of this church, and first of all, it's a church. At this point in my life, like, I am so anti-religious, it's not even funny. Like, everything negative about religion. You know, I focused on how, like, it starts nothing. Like, how many people have died because of, like, organized religion? You know, like, I focused on it. Just all the negative crap. And, I want nothing to do. I actually disliked it so much. I would love to argue with people about how wrong they are. That remember having Thanksgiving at my aunt's house, and she's very religious, and she wanted to say grace. So as she's saying grace, she said Jesus or something. I remember I just growled. I went, "Urgh." Like, you know, that's how angry I was about it. And she was so nice. She was like, Eric, no growling at the dinner table. You know, and it was just like, but that's like the resentment I had against it. I don't know what it was. And so we go into the basement of his church, and I'm just like, I'm looking for a reason to hate this program, you know, because deep down inside, I'm hoping against hope I'm not an alcoholic. You know, really my idea is I'm going to go to these meetings. I'm very smart. I'm going to go to these meetings. I'm going to learn what their secret formula is, and I'm going to learn how to drink on the weekends like a normal person again, you know, because I can't live without alcohol. That's my whole life. I've never done anything sober. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I get down there, get to this meeting, and I'm full of fear, man. Man, like I'm not a very fearful person. Like I was in the Marines. I was like, fear is not in my vocabulary. But you take the alcohol away from me, and you make me try to feel some feelings, and I'm shaking. Like, I'm walking into this meeting, and I'm physically shaking. And sit down, they start going around the room. And now I'm just like, I want out. I want to run out of this room, And I hear them talking, I'm looking. And they got the 12 steps on the wall. And a couple of the steps mention God, and I'm like, that's it. Program. I don't do religious programs. I'm not doing this. I'm out of here. So at the end of the meeting, everybody hold.
It's hard to believe in God when you grew up in such a traumatic environment. So that's definitely understandable.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was. Like, I remember, if you really want to get into it, I remember being a kid. Okay, and I remember probably 5. And I remember just laying there in bed going, what happens to me when I die? What happens to me when I die? And I remember being terrified, thinking it's just going to be this void, this blackness forever. And I would cry. And I would just lay in bed and cry. And I remember my grandmother, God rest her soul, I loved that woman. She was she gave me, my grandmother, I remember, heard me cry. I was staying at her house. I was seeing my dad for the weekend. And she comes out to go to the bathroom. She hears me crying. She's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, I don't know what happens to me when I die. She's like, you don't know about religion or anything? I'm like, no, we don't talk about it. So she sat down and taught me about Jesus and this and the other thing. She gave me a Bible. But whatever she did worked because I stopped worrying about dying.
Oh,
never read the Bible.
Nice.
But
right.
it was nice.
Okay.
I ended up dying when I was like 13. And those feelings all came back about death. And I took the Bible that she gave me. I read it, and I read Noah's Ark and Adam and Eve, and I'm like, this is the biggest piece of like, people believe this. People believe every animal in the world got on a boat. I go, how did kangaroos? I was like, I threw it right in the garbage. I said, there's nothing in this that's true, And I kind of just that was as far as I went spiritually.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, Here I am in this AA meeting, and but that's what it was. My alcoholism wanted out. It was cornered. Okay, so it God, nope, religious program's gone. We're out. So It was funny. One guy wrote his name down on a piece of paper and gave it to me, and that saved my life because. 3 months later, I went back out and drinking. I'm on I call it the merry-go-round of misery, because now, as soon as I wake up in the morning, as soon as my blood alcohol level drops below a certain level, I get instant panic attacks. Chest tight, can't breathe, I'm dying of a heart attack. Okay, and this is usually 8 o'clock in the morning. This is happening. I gotta drink.
Oh, wow.
And now I'm at work, and then that was my thing. I would never drink at work, like in the morning. Now I'm doing airplane shots all day long just to hold it off, at the merry-go-round. As soon as I stop drinking, the panic attacks, bang. And 3 months later, I'm driving home from work. I got the toy boy between my legs. I got the airplane bottles in the seat, and I just start crying. I'm just crying like I can't do this anymore. I'm just so physically, mentally, and spiritually exhausted. And I had that piece of I got home, I saw that piece of paper, and I called it up. I called that guy, and I'm like, look, I need help.
Wow.
So, he brought me to, so.
He brought you to what?
AA is a great program, saved my life. A lot of people say it doesn't work, and it's because they do what I do. They let fear run the show. And it doesn't work if you don't want it to work.
You have to be ready. You have to be ready, and you have to want it. You have to be like, I am sick of hating myself in my life.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because you know why? My sponsor, when I went to that first meeting with him, right, he still saw like how cocky I kind of was with like a defense mechanism. He looked me straight in the eye. He said, you're not ready. You're not in enough pain yet. And he walked away from me. And
wow.
I was just like, what an asshole. I couldn't believe he said that to me. Like, this guy's supposed to help me. But he was right. He was absolutely right because he still worked with me, you know, but I wasn't ready. I still wanted to do this my way, okay? Because I would go to a couple meetings, and then I would celebrate after a couple of days of not drinking. I would celebrate with a drink, you know. So I was kind of like playing the fence, you know. And it wasn't until, you know, I got back on that merry-go-round of misery one more time, you know, and it was funny because this is where it all culminated, all right? This is where it all came to a head. I'm with my wife, with my kid, walking around the lake. Beautiful sunny day, you know, birds are chirping, you know, it's beautiful. I'm fucking miserable. I'm miserable inside. All I want to do is drink. The mental obsession is just beating on me. Drink. It's the only thing that makes me feel good. It's the only thing that gets me out of myself. I want to fill that hole inside of me. So we get back. It's 4th of July weekend, right? Fireworks are going off. I know people are drinking. I'm like, screw it. I can't take it anymore. I pretend I'm doing yard work. I go fly into the liquor store. I get myself a pint of vodka, come home, and I hide in the bushes and I start slamming it. You know, I'm just like chugging on this thing. Gulp, 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 and I just down this whole thing. Walk around the yard, do what I got to do. You know, I'm feeling nice. Go inside. She was like a bloodhound at this point. She could always smell it on me. She doesn't say nothing. I'm like, oh, I got away with it. Go to bed. Wake up in the morning. Go to work. Driving home, I call her. So she's like, so are you going to tell, you know, you're going to tell them you drank? And I'm like, tell who what I drank. Oh, I got to back up a minute because this is important.
Okay.
As I was in those bushes, slamming that bottle of vodka, as I'm drinking it, okay, I know I'm doomed. I know alcohol is my master. I can't beat it. Okay, AA is too hard. I can't do it. All that fear and self-doubting and self-centeredness, you know, came to a head. As I'm drinking the vodka, I know she's leaving. She's taking the kid with her. Okay, I'm gonna get the DWI. It's a matter of time. I'm gonna get fired. I'm losing the house. You know, and I know I'm too much of a sissy to put the gun in my mouth and pull the trigger. So I'm just gonna drink myself to death. And I don't know how long that's going to take or how miserable that's going to be, but that's my what I do condemn myself to because I don't have any other choice. That's my only solution.
That's really common.
You know?
That's a really common way. Yeah, unfortunately. You know that you're actively killing yourself and you're trying to.
Yes, you're aware of it. And that's the thing that people don't realize about addicts. We are absolutely aware that we're killing ourselves and dying. And we don't have a choice. It's like we have lost the illusion of choice. You know, I'm no longer in control. I have to drink. Like heroin addicts, I work with people to help try to get them sober. And heroin addicts very hard. It's very hard to be successful with them. But I remember I had one, you know, and especially with the fentanyl going around. And he told me every time I put a needle in my arm, I know I'm playing Russian roulette, but he goes, I like the taste of the barrel, you know? And that really hit me. I was like, wow. Every time they do it, this could be the last time, but they can't. You know, and that's why I get so mad when people are like, they have a choice. No, there is no choice. The illusion of choice is left a long time ago. You know, are they choosing to destroy everyone around them? No. You know?
Yeah.
Because addiction isn't just, we like to think addiction is just, it just affects us. You know, alcoholics and drug addicts are very self-centered people. You know, the disease stems from self-centeredness, you know. And it's weird. We think it just affects everybody around. It affects the whole family unit, you know. And
definitely,
you know, and it takes years after you're sober for them to really get healed by it. To believe you and to heal. You know, there's a thing called a living amends that we have to do. You know, I have to. I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. So
But
let's definitely go back to you going to AA. So at first you were like, okay, religion, I'm out, right? And
yeah,
then you found yourself completely broken again with your
yeah,
situation and your addiction. And so you decided to go back.
yeah.
And what was that like?
Huh.
Go-
It it's weird. It was exactly what my sponsor told me. It's I wasn't in enough pain. It's so weird. You gotta reach a certain, they call it the bottom. You know, it's like, well, I wanted to get better, you know, but I wasn't in enough pain. You know what I'm saying? My ego is still like, I got this. I can do it my way, you know. And I had to go back out there and experiment a few times and realize that I am powerless against this no matter what. Because I have very good willpower. You know what I'm saying? I've taken care of myself my whole life. You know, I thought I'm going to beat this. You know, and they kept telling me, no, you need a spiritual solution. A spiritual awakening will defeat this. Not you alone cannot do it. If we alone could do it, we wouldn't need this program. You know, and I didn't believe them. I didn't want to believe that. You know, for a while. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to when did you finally reach the point where, what happened to finally get you on the right track after those ups and downs and going back to it? What was the turning point that actually put you on the right track?
Okay. Yes. So I'm in the bushes drinking. I know alcohol's become my master. I'm going to lose everything. I don't care. I've consigned myself to die an alcoholic death. Well, my sponsor ended up calling me the next day, and he was like, "Why don't you come to my house? We'll do some, big book work. We'll go over some stuff. We'll go to a meeting." And I'm just like, "Yeah, whatever." So I go over there. Not really listening to anything he's got to say. I really don't care, because what he didn't realize, what my wife didn't realize, I was done. This doesn't work, blah, blah. So we go to a meeting, and it's a speaker meeting, and this woman's telling her story. And she had red hair. I don't remember her name, She had red hair, and she stood when she spoke. Everybody usually sits. She stood. And it wasn't so much her story I identified with. There was a power about her. This woman had a presence. Like, there was an energy emanating from this woman. And I was getting goosebumps, and I'm all into the story. And anyway, the meeting's over. Shake her hand. I say, thank you. Get in my car. Start driving down the road. Turn on the radio. And it was weird because for a split second, I thought I heard gospel music on the radio. I'm like, is that gospel music? I'm like, what? And as I'm thinking about that, all of a sudden, like I inhale, and as I exhale, I go, everything is going to be okay. And this energy goes from the crown of my head, shoots through my body down to my toes. And it was like God tapped me on the shoulder, said everything was going to be okay. And I can't even describe the feeling that came over me. It was serenity.
Divine intervention.
Peace.
Wow.
Yeah, bliss.
Wow.
I've never felt anything like that in my life. It was better than any drug or drink I've ever taken in my entire life. I've never felt so calm and peaceful and happy. Like, the joy was just like emanated out of it. And it was just like, at that single moment, it blew the doors off of any walls that I had built up from spirituality. Any prejudice that I had completely shattered it. Because what happened to me, I was like, oh my God. Now, I say God because it's just easier for me to say. If I say Shiva, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Or if I say, you know what I'm saying? Like, call it Shiva, Spirit, Atman, whatever you want to call it.
Creator. I say creator. I told you that before.
Yeah. It doesn't, look, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's all the same thing.
It is.
It touched me on the shoulder. Now's the time. Everything's going to be okay. And he, she, whatever it just gave me a taste of what it could be like to live, to just be free of all of that, free of myself. And the tears of joy were just streaming down my face. And I'm driving and I'm crying and I'm like, oh my God. I pull into the driveway, I hop out the car, I'm like dancing into the house, like, you know. My wife looks at me and goes, "What the hell is wrong with you?" you know.
Never seen you like that before.
I just had the spiritual awakening. I tell her the whole thing. She's like, "You better go call your sponsor," you know. So I call him, and he's like, "That's amazing. You better hold on to this." And I remember I couldn't sleep. The energy was just, the feeling was just, oh my God, I can't explain it. I laid there. I was up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Now I got to wake up at 4:45 to go to work. And I'm praying. Man. I'm like, all right, God, I gotta go to bed. It's the first time I've prayed in who knows how long. I'm like, please do not let this feeling leave me in the morning. Please, you know. So I wake up, and the feeling's there, but it's not as intense. You know, when I go to work, everything just seemed different. And every day it got a little less. And by like 3 or 4 days, it was gone. Well, it was enough to propel me in a direction. That, I wanted that. Whatever the hell that was, that's what I wanted. I don't want drugs. I don't want drinking, I want that. You know?
Wow. Amazing.
And
I know the feeling that you're talking about. So I love this.
Yeah, and this is where it gets good. I love talking about this part, you know? And so I did. I started diving into the 12 steps. And what's amazing about it is they're all designed for a reason. They're all in order for a reason, you know? It's like you're uncovering stones about yourself, you know? You got to write an inventory. You got to see where your what do you call it? The
traumas are, or
traumas or emotional deformities. Okay. You know, is a good word. Yeah. Are you know, and like exactly traumas. This you're writing an inventory sheet, but you're focusing on yourself, not other people. Like where are you wrong? And what I came to find out is I'm selfish and self-centered to the core. You know, that's usually most of what my problem is. So,
well,
you're right.
You were in survival mode as a child. Like your whole life, you had to literally protect yourself. You had nobody who really was doing that for you on the level that should have happened. So you had to be me. And that's understandable.
Yeah. But what I didn't realize was, you know, me, okay, is my obsession with self was the root of all my problems. You know, all my anxiety, all my fear, all my frustration stems from my obsession with self. You know, so I go through all the steps, you know, as enthusiastically as I could, you know, and at the end of the program, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to turn around and help them mix alcoholics. And I couldn't wait to do that because my whole life I kind of was just me. You know, I didn't really care about you. And to turn around, because it's funny, once you find, like you probably felt it before, when you have that spiritual awakening, okay, you want to run around and be like, look what I found. This is amazing. You all can have it. You know, and people are like, "You're crazy. Get away from me." You know.
Yeah.
You know.
They're like, "You're weird."
And,
it's amazing.
But you're so like, it's amazing. You know, like we all have access to this. Like the way you understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but you know, people aren't ready for that. But you know who are? People who are suffering. People who are. You know what I'm saying? Suffering is the sandpaper that shapes our incarnation in this life. You know, people that are suffering are willing to try anything. You know, so you know, I got to work with a guy who was just like me. He was angry, didn't believe in God, blah blah blah, and we were able to sit down and we had a connection. You know, we became really good friends, and it was an honor, you know, to give away to someone else who was so freely given to me. And that's the beauty of the program. You know, no one's asking for a favor. No one wants money from you. You know, we it's altruistic. You know, I help myself by helping you. You know,
that's a big step in recovery, is getting to the point where you're ready to help others, and then helping others, because it helps you stay on the right path.
Yep.
I wanted to jump in and say, sorry. So you know how there are the stages of grief in when somebody dies, or when there's a bad breakup of somebody that you really loved, or it's a long-term relationship and there's a breakup, or if somebody passes away, there are stages of grief. Are those 12 steps, do they kind of cater to whatever steps an addict goes through during recovery as well? Are there stages, clear-cut stages, or are they yes, of recovery, like emotional things that you go through during your recovery? Are there stages, or is it different for everybody? Because I don't know this.
Yeah, no, it's different from everybody, and that's what I like to tell people when they do this, is that there's no cookie cutter way about it. My path is different from your path. I can show you what I did, okay, and you can emulate that. You can try to follow that as closely as possible. This is what I did. Try that, But for everybody, it's a little different. But in the beginning, what it usually is for most people is they come in, they're in a ton of pain, and they just want the pain to stop. They kind of, not so much like, oh, that's it, I'm never going to drink again, because in the back of their minds, they're always like, oh, I would like to drink again, But then, they learn that, to drink again is to die, or get back on that misery. And, and then you start facing yourself. That's the beauty of this. Like when I talk, and I go to meetings and talk, I introduce myself as a grateful alcoholic. I'll get up on the podium, I'll be like, my name is Eric, and I'm a grateful alcoholic. And half the room will be like, what is he talking about? But I'm a grateful alcoholic because if it wasn't for that pain, that suffering, all of it, the abuse, I never would have been ready. My ego would have never been beaten down enough to accept the spiritual angle, And once I had that spiritual awakening, it filled that hole inside of me that I was trying to fill with drugs, alcohol, sex, money, power. It filled it.
It does.
And the greatest gift I got from the program is I'm comfortable in my own skin. That's all I wanted since I was 15 years old. I just wanted to be comfortable in my own skin.
Right.
And no matter what I did, I couldn't find it. And, being spiritual, do any spiritual practices and have these spiritual experiences that fills that, and it's amazing. It's better than hitting the lotto because, well, let's take actors and rock stars for example, okay? You're a rock star, you're famous. You have all the cars, the houses, women are throwing themselves. You got everything you could ask for. They're still suffering. They've when you've had the finest drug, the finest drink, the finest of everything, and it still doesn't fill out that hole inside of you, and you don't know what else to do. That's a lot of times why they off themselves, because they don't know what else to do. They were looking in the wrong directions.
Of course. And the problem is when you seek out all of these material things that you think are going to fill the insatiable void of emptiness, that you feel inside, and sadness, the problem is the answer is actually within you, right? But it's so hard to explain that to a person who hasn't gone through literally the depths of despair and come out on the other side in some type of enlightenment or spiritual evolution. It's not something you can explain. Unfortunately, we can talk about it, and we can hopefully plant a seed that might start growing for people, and I think that it does for some people, but it's a really difficult thing to explain because I have people that I've had in my life that I've been close to who are just not spiritual at all. And I wasn't always as spiritual as I am now either. So I can't be mad at them for that. But we just can't seem to meet on any type of level because we live in different dimensions. I have a whole other, and it's,
I have
I
a
just wish,
best friend I grew up with right now like that.
And I just wish that they would learn and do the work and allow themselves to
because
feel.
If they had a taste, it would change their lives, but they're just not interested.
It absolutely would, and it would give them such a different approach and perspective and happiness and all the things that you get out of a spiritual journey. And I'm not saying it's always perfect or amazing, but there's, it's just taking a lower vibrational mentality or energy or person and just wanting to let them feel how it feels to have a, like when you meditate, right? The way you feel right after like a really deep meditation. But anyway, I know what you're saying.
You're right. You can't describe that to people. They have to experience it. And what helps me with one of my best friends, I mean, he's been my best friend since he was 9, and he just doesn't, he's seen how this is completely transforming from somebody who was just an angry individual into, someone who, I have become the person I never had in my life to my kids, my kids were down here meditating with me this morning. We were chanting and having a good time. My neighbor, compliments me on how much of a good father I am, and, my wife, and I do a lot of stuff with my kids, but that wouldn't be the case if I didn't go through all that pain and suffering and did all the work I did on myself. That wouldn't be the case. I would still be, they probably wouldn't even be in my life. My wife would have left,
For sure.
So,
yeah, it sounds like it.
So I think my friend saying that would make him want to do it, and he doesn't. He has no interest. So
he's not ready.
Come to some people aren't. They're not ready in this lifetime. Like I remember, I was at a Buddhist temple, and they told me, they go, it's not. Some people just don't have the karma yet. It's not that this lifetime isn't for them. So you just have to accept it and move on.
That's a great point. There are karmic cycles that we have to go through during certain periods of our lives. So we're basically, living in that lower vibrational energy until we learn a lesson, which is when we have an awakening, right? So those
lessons will be repeated until you learn from them.
Totally. That's why you see people making the same mistakes over and over again in their lives, in their relationships, because they haven't done any work to heal themselves, which makes them stay stuck in the karmic cycle. But sometimes they're meant to stay in it for longer than others, unfortunately.
Yes.
So let me back up because we're jumping ahead really far, and it's all good because I love this topic. But
I could talk about this all friggin' day.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to talk about your spiritual journey and that process because obviously it doesn't happen overnight. We know this, right? It's a journey. It takes time and experience and trial and error and all of it, right? Ups and downs. So once you got yourself on the right track.
People like to think it's just all like rainbows and unicorns. It's not. It's all.
No.
Get strapped in because it's a wild ride.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because that's right. When people hear like, "Oh, you're spiritual," it's like, "Oh, they think that you're saying you have some perfect life." Like, you have no idea
by far.
how perfect it is, and it has been, and that's why I'm on this journey in the first place, right? So what I was going to ask you is, so you got through the 12-step program, and you became obviously somewhat enlightened on that journey, but you've become a very spiritually involved person and evolved because of that. But what led you to do the type of meditations you do now? When did you start doing that? What triggered it?
I think like I started dabbling in meditation like here and there because on the 11th step it talks about prayer meditation. And I didn't really know, like how to do it, what to do it. I would do it once and then I would just watch my thoughts bounce inside my head. And I'd be like, well, that's crazy, and just walk away,
Right.
And called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about the voice inside your head. He called it your inner roommate and how it's not really you. And he said, just personify it. He goes, if you don't think you have it, he goes, right now. He goes, here's an exercise. If you don't think you have this voice inside your head, he goes, make it say hello. And I sat there and I went, hello, hello, hello. And I was like, holy shit, And he goes, this thing is it's always narrating. It's complaining. It's blood. I don't like this. I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, my God, he's right. And the thing is, we think that's us, and it's not us.
Right.
And, and I started meditating. I started watching it. I just saw, like, how just – what's the word I'm looking for? Just crazy this thing is. Like, I'm trapped with this crazy roommate inside my head that's always complaining about something, And it was driving me crazy. So I wanted to – and there was a line in his book, and it said, it said, this is the root of self. You are not your thoughts. You are aware of your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You feel your emotions. You are not your body. You look at it in the mirror, and you experience this world through its eyes and ears. You are the conscious being who is aware that you are aware of all these inner and outer things.
Amazing.
And that blew me away. And so I started just trying to I tried to be aware of being aware. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because before you're aware that you're aware, you're not aware.
You're lost in the movie. He even explains it in that book. He goes, you're lost in the movie of life. And he explains it like being in a cold, dark movie theater. Okay? And you're in a cold, dark movie theater. It kind of smells. But the movie comes on, and the movie is so good, you forget you're in a dark, damp movie theater.
And
that's what feelings, emotions, all this is. It's the movie of your life, and you totally get sucked into it, and you forget that you're this conscious being who's aware of all these things. And every now and then you can step back and be like, oh wow, look, oh wow, and it was an eye opener. It kind of. So I started dabbling a little more with meditation, and I was having, I was trying. It's hard. It's so hard. I still fail with it, to be aware of being aware. But
yeah.
I remember it was probably 3 years sober, 2 years sober, something like that. My mom was losing her house. She was an alcoholic. My stepfather died. My grandfather had died years before, and she was in the house all alone, just drinking, and she was giving up her house. She was gonna let them foreclose on the house on her, and she's not paying the bills. And she was gonna go live with my sister in PA. So I had to clean some of this stuff out of her house. And I remember walking. My sponsor came with me, because he knew about like all the stuff that went through in that house. So we walk in. I open up the door, and the first thing I remember is like the smell. Because she had all these animals. Like when I left, I think it hurt my mother. It's like I think she regretted everything. And
I'm sure.
she regretted not like loving me enough, and because she started like hoarding animals. And recently she tried to tell me how much, she regrets, stopped dead in the tracks. And I go, how do you know any of it's a mistake? I go, look where I am now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Really.
Exactly, and nothing's a mistake in this life. Nothing is a mistake. But anyway, I go,
right.
Open up the door, and the smell just hits me. And there's like dog pee in the carpets. There's stains. I'm almost like, wow, looks like a crack house, And we're looking around. We end up going into my grandfather's room, And there was all these old coins. All his stuff was laid out in the bed. It was, like, bizarre. Like, why? He would never let me touch any of it. If he found me in his room, he would beat the crap out of me. And one time, he had this, I forgot what the heck, it was like a toy plane. And he knew I loved it. And my friend, one of my best friends came over, and he gave it to my best friend because he knew it would hurt me. You know, and my best friend still talks about that to this day. He goes, like, just how fucked up my grandfather was. So I remember looking through all this stuff, and he had all these old coins, you know. And I go to my sponsor, I go, you know what? After everything he's done to me, I go, I'm taking these coins. I deserve them. And he looks at me and goes, look, I ain't going to stop you, man. You know? So I'm taking these coins, I'm putting them in a bag, and as I'm doing it, now, the back of my shirt got pulled. Now, this wasn't like it got hung up on a belt buckle. It got yanked. I instantly froze. I got ghost white. My sponsor was like, what's the matter with you? I said, something just grabbed me. Something touched me. He goes, what? He goes, get out of here. He goes out loud. He goes, something touched me. And we just stood there for like 3-4 minutes, and I was like freaked out. I'm like, let's go outside. So we go outside, stand in the front yard, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I got to go back in there. You know, I'm like, stay out here. So I go back in there by myself, and I imagined where he used to just sit in that room, drink, sit in his rocking chair, drink, and watch TV, and come out and torture me every now and then. But for a little, this is how much I hated this man, okay? When he died, my sister had to hide his ashes because I remember him telling me that he wanted his ashes scattered in Alaska. Well, I told my sister to give me the urn because I was going to piss in the urn and I was going to dump it into the nearest sewer and be like, I hope you get to Alaska. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how much I hated him.
Wow.
His rocking chair, this is how much trauma I had. His rocking chair.
I don't blame
I found
you.
it in my mom's shed. I took it out in the front yard. I lit it on fire and smashed it with a sledgehammer because I thought that would somehow release the aggression and make me feel better. Nothing. I sit in his room. I imagine where his rocking chair was. I just sit there on that nasty, dirty, smelly carpet, and I just start meditating, and I'm breathing. With like 5 minutes in, I just start to feel his energy, you know? And It's weird. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, I'm looking, I could see him, right? And I'm seeing his deformed arms, and you know, his ways to roll his tongue when he was angry and everything. And as I'm looking at him, I just felt sorry for him because I was becoming him. You know, we suffer from the same disease. Our whole family does, from alcoholism. And if I was crippled, my arms were crippled, you know, and who knows what kind of life he had, you know what I'm saying? I was becoming him, and if I was crippled, I could be just as mean or meaner than him. And for a split second, like, I felt bad for him, and I said, I forgive you. You know, I looked at him in my mind, and I said, I forgive you. And when I said that, it's like I just felt this release, like all this pent-up energy, and the whole energy of the room just went away. And I got up, I walked out of that room a free man. That resentment has not haunted me ever since. I mean, I went to psychologist. I beat pillows. I took medication. I did everything a psychologist tell you you're supposed to do. None of it worked. I burned his freaking rocking chair. None of it worked. The only thing that worked was forgiveness. You know?
And you got to the forgiveness by meditation
and it doesn't mean
and going
everything
within.
he did to me was okay.
No,
you know,
of
but,
course not. Yeah.
You know, I forgave him because I saw my disease and my pain inside of him, you know, and I felt that oneness that Buddhism talks about, you know, and this is why AA is such a powerful program, because we're all bonded by the same misery, you know.
Absolutely.
And again, you know, so it freed me. That was my second spiritual experience. You know what I'm saying? And I learned that just from being in the room. I went there and just said a simple, I forgive you. You know, but you just can't go up to someone, I forgive you. It came from the heart. You know, it came from inside me. And I was here.
Yeah. And you were releasing yourself more than anything from holding on to that, because it was killing you for so many years.
Oh, yes.
Holding on to the resentment and the anger. And that's an amazing stage if you can get to the stage where you can actually forgive from the heart, like you said, not just to say it, but to actually feel it. And
Yeah.
the compassion that you felt recognizing the demons he had that you had actually adopted thanks to the trauma and abuse that you suffered. So you could actually empathize with it. That sounds like a major, major turning point. And a lot of people don't get there, unfortunately, and he did.
Yeah, I never thought I would.
That's why he abused
I
you.
would hate that man till the day I died. So, yeah, I mean, just goes to show you, you hear about these things and you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds nice. And then when you're like, oh, my God, like this is, all these religions talk about that. Like when you boil all these religions down to their basic ingredients, it's love and forgiveness, really. It's all they're talking about, and oneness.
That's the common denominator. The
it doesn't,
rule.
yeah, exactly. And there's many, many paths to the mountaintop, just choose one. It really doesn't matter, I mean.
Absolutely.
I'm like an eclectic slob with spirituality. I dabble a little bit of Christianity, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of Buddhism. I even read the Quran a little bit, and lately I've just been liking Buddhism.
And what do you like about Buddhism?
What I like about it, what drew me to it was I was on a search, like I was hanging out in Hindu temples, Buddhist temples and stuff like that. But what drew me to the Buddhism part was how they talk about, they say the Buddha nature is already inside of you. You just don't know it. It's obscured. Your Buddha nature is obscured by clouds of desire, likes, dislikes, all your preferences, obscures your Buddha nature. And, they focus on your mind, and like how, in Buddhism, they don't recognize the mind in your head. They say the mind is in your heart. That's where they call it, when the Buddhists talk about your mind, they're talking about your heart center. They believe that's where your soul is. They don't really believe in soul, but like your center is. Because to them the brain is just a cognate. It just it gets you to move around and hunt and gather and put things in your mouth and eat and be able to. It functions your body. It's a complete liability because it, again, what I'm saying, it tells you things that's not necessarily true. Like how many times has your brain been like, oh, giving you horrible advice that's ruined your life? You know what I'm saying? And then if I gave you horrible advice 3 times in a row, you would never listen to me again, right? But how many times has your brain given you horrible, life-changing advice? And the next time it has an idea, you're like, oh, yeah? Let's definitely go do that. And it's Buddhism gets you out of that. They have you meditate, and they bring you, because when I started, to meditate, I thought, I used to feel like consciousness in the back of my mind, like up in the back part of my head. And I thought that was a good meditation. If I felt my head starting to get pulled back to the ground, I'd be meditating, and then I'd end up laying down and falling asleep. I thought that was a great meditation. They taught me that was horrible. But because what they do was they have you start meditating, and it's okay to start up there, and get, you focus on your breath. You gotta get a point. You gotta calm down. You gotta let the mud settle.
Mm-hmm.
Start meditating, you calm down, but then you start pulling your consciousness, and you pull it right down to your heart center. And you get down there. And I remember I was on the silent retreat, and I couldn't do it. And the woman was like, I couldn't get out of my head. That's where I lived my whole life, is in my head.
Right.
I have panic attacks.
Do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have panic attacks, and they all center from my heart. They're all centers from my chest. And it's because I need to crack that open. I need to crack that open. So so she had me visualize, visualize the thing you love most. So I started visualizing my children and really nice things. And as I was doing that, man, I got down there. And as soon as love will bring you down to your heart center. Once I was able to bring my consciousness there, my mind just shut up, just bang, went blank. And I was able to just concentrate on that, just that bliss, that love, And I wasn't, it's hard to stay there. I stayed there for a couple minutes and then I was gone. But, and you work on it, And
it is hard to stay there.
Yeah, it's.
Would you?
Huh?
I want to ask you this: Would you say that it was that awakening that you had, where that you saw the woman at the AA meeting who was speaking? You said she had an energy, and right after that, you had God tapped you on the shoulder, and you had that feeling overall, just that bliss. Was that the reason? Was that the driving force behind you continuing the search through meditation to sustain that feeling or to keep bringing it back?
Absolutely. Because that feeling, I know that wasn't it. Okay? I know I was being shown what's possible. Okay? I imagine that's how somebody Gandhi or name a saint, Mother Teresa, Jesus would feel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That bliss, that happiness, that just joy. I mean, it was so joyful. Tears are running down your face. I mean, and these are attainable things. But see, this is the funny part. We can never stay there. I've had 4, and look, you can have minor ones. You've had times where you have you'd be stringing together a week. You're like, well, I'm on fire, and then you come down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having a conversation with somebody about that, and I was like, why does that happen? Why can't I just stay there?
Mm-hmm.
And with the conclusion we kind of came up with was, if you just stayed there, that's kind of like a spiritual death. Because you plateau, you get to a certain spot, and you're like, oh, I feel great, I'm done. And you stop doing what you have to do. When you start coming down, you're like, the work has to continue. You know what I'm saying? I have to continue to help people. If I'm just feeling blissful all the time, I'm not going to help anybody. I'm going to sit in my house and just bliss out and meditate by myself. When am I going to go out and help people? When am I going to be of service? When am I going to do other? It's when I'm starting to feel uncomfortable again. Okay, so that's, in my opinion, that's why we don't stay there. We're not, I'm never going to be a Buddha. I'm never going to be a saint. Those people stay there. I get sneak peeks.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely relate.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying about when you meditate, that blissful feeling. I don't reach it to a high level every time, but I feel like when I really know that I need to meditate, if I'm going through something hard, I make sure I meditate every day during those periods, because I know that I need to, because I'm going through something. And it's funny because that's the hardest time to meditate.
Yes.
But the discipline that it takes to do it, and to make sure that I, try to do it for at least an hour on those days. I meditate in water. That's just where I like to, in a bath.
Cool. Yeah. Cool.
I feel like, as an empath, that's what makes me feel like I'm releasing a lot. And when I meditate like that, there are times where I feel such a blissful feeling, but at the same time, I'm releasing so much negativity. It makes me cry.
Yeah.
I don't expect it. It just happens. And I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a releasing feeling, at the same time taking on a new blissful one. It's incredible.
Yes.
I can't imagine my life without it now.
Mhm. And you're right. You know, it doesn't happen often, but yeah, every time I just get a glimpse of whatever that is, Atman, soul, consciousness, the universe, whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? I get like this little tear come down my eye of bliss. You know, I'm just like, I remember saying thank you. You know, but
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. This is where it's an illusion. That's a very small part of my meditation. A lot of my meditations are my thoughts bouncing off the walls, and I'm just watching them. You know,
It's
but there's
hard.
a power in that also. There's a power in that because. You know, if anybody's listening to this and they want to like find out, you know, where their emotional deformities are, go into silence. Be silent for a whole morning, and then meditate. Okay, you're gonna find out exactly where your emotional deformities are, because they're gonna be screaming. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be. I go on silent retreats and I love them because it's. You know, once you stop talking, it's kind of weird. You're kind of that thing in your head becomes more profound, and you're more aware of it, because when you're around people, you kind of notice this next time you're in a crowd. Okay, when you're sitting around people, like you'll start chit chatting, just because you're uncomfortable. Okay. And that's what it is. You're just releasing nervous energy by chit-chatting about the weather or this. This is what people really love to do. They like to find something that they both don't like, and they like to complain about it together because it kind of bonds them. You know, people do not like to sit in silence too much with each other. It kind of gives them an uncomfortable feeling. And you go on these silent retreats, and it's really nice because the longer you stay in silence, the quieter that thing in your mind gets. And you can get to a point where almost it just shuts up, you know, because you're not engaging it anymore. It's like a pendulum. If you stop feeding it and giving it energy, it'll kindly just come to rest in the center of the towel, you know. And you know, it's important. It's important. People need that, you know. Just silence for a little bit. Stop with all the idle chatter 24/7. You know, just be quiet, sit there. And just watch your thoughts. It's not a bad meditation. If your thoughts are bouncing all over the place, pick one and find out where it came from and where does it go. You'll be surprised.
Absolutely.
Where do thoughts come from? Where do they? Where do they go?
Right.
Who's creating the thoughts? Why am I thinking this? You know, it's when you sit there and analyze it. Like this morning. I was meditating, and you know, it was nice. My kids came down, and they sat with me, and then they left, and like I can hear them running, you know, and I'm like, how dare they be running? They know I'm meditating, and I caught myself, you know, and I'm like, who's got the problem? It's not their problem. They're kids. They're running. Just because they're running around doesn't mean I can't meditate, you know.
They're being kids.
And they're just being kids. Every time I have a problem with something, it's me. It's not the outside. It's my reaction to it that's the problem, and that's what I have to remind myself of. You know. Oh, and talking about the spiritual, the trauma, and it was. I knew we were gonna talk today, so I wanted to do a little deeper meditation. And it was weird. I was sitting there meditating, and I remember we talked the other day. And I kept telling you, I kept getting this anxiety. It kept bubbling up out of nowhere. And I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from, remember?
Yes, you
and,
asked me.
And I'm like, have you been feeling it? I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting it. And it was when I sat there, and I just started like, all right, where is this coming from? I started searching. And like, all of a sudden it was like, you know, because lately, you know, with all this, you know, being quarantined in the house, you know, not be able to go. I've been trying to use this to really work on myself and find out the nooks and crannies where I'm still holding back. And I found that, you know, at work I can still be very gruff. I can be a jerk. I can be a real asshole at work, you know. And I'm like that because I'm afraid to just totally be open and in love because I feel like I won't be accepted. and I was meditating, and I started like exploring that. Huh? Hello?
Oh, just saying, understandable. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
Can
I
you still
started
hear me?
exploring that, and it was weird. Yeah, I noticed like, and this happened to me once, a couple years ago. I went to this woman who's like an energy healer. Have you ever heard of those? I never did anything like that before.
I have friends who actually are into that. Yes, it's kind of like
where they hook like electrodes up to you and do stuff.
They have that too.
And
That's popular here in Serbia, where I live, but only certain people do it. They're kind of like witch doctors, but not really.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was kind of skeptical, but there were some things that she brought up that I'm like, how would she know about that? You know? And one of them, she had me like close my eyes and think, and like all of a sudden this little boy popped in my mind, you know, this scared little boy, and I realized it was me. I still have that. After everything I've gone through, all the work I've done, I still have that scared little boy trapped inside of me, you know. And this morning, like I was meditating, and I could see him like in my. And that's where the anxiety is coming from. I still have that in my heart space, in my rib cage. There's like this scared little boy is still there, and I was like, it's all right, you can come out. You know, no one's gonna hurt you. It's all right. Look, and then my kids are running around like, look, you can play. You know, it was like, it's everything's gonna be. You're fine. You know, it was a beautiful experience. You know.
Yeah.
So
amazing. I've been to a few different energy healers. The first one that I went to was in Toronto when I was living there, and he told me things that I was like, how could this person know this? Not only about what was going on in my body, which was true, and I didn't tell him
exactly.
anything.
Like, how do you know this from? Yeah.
Right, but he could feel different spots in my body that were warmer than others, and picks up on energy. And he told me, I'm going to be cleansing you now from a lot of these different, I don't know, traumas, energies, whatever it was. I didn't understand as much as I do now about spirituality, to be honest with you. So I can't even translate what he was doing properly. But he would tell me, you'll probably be really tired after this. It's almost like you got to sleep off whatever he did. I can't even describe to you how tired I was for like the next 24 hours. It was like I just could have kept sleeping, and it was weird.
Wow.
And I was like, am I tired because he told me I was going to be tired? Or did he really, do what he said? Because I'm a big believer in the power of the mind. I always have been. Like, that's why I do hypnosis, certified in that, neuro-linguistic programming. So I feel like sometimes whatever we choose to believe, we can create that reality, right? So, but anyway, whatever it was, whatever he did really truly felt like something amazing. And I have told this story on the show before, but, this situation that we're talking about now, it's relevant. So I have a massage therapist who she's more like an energy massage therapist. She does a great massage, but she does work on your energy as well. She can feel things too. She's a good friend of mine. She's here in Serbia. So one day she was massaging me, and she's like, this says to me, there's something about you that's rejecting me helping you, in her broken English. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you're not accepting my help. Like, I'm trying to work on certain things, and it's like you're blocking me. I'm like, that's so crazy. And meditating to have a protective light around me so that nobody else's energy can really affect me too much, because I'm so empathic, I feel the need to do that protection. And she felt it. She could feel it.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's unreal, So totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wondered like about that, like being empathetic and stuff like that, because I can feel energy, every now and then. I don't really know how to explain it, but I get like that push pull from certain people when I meet them, and within 5 minutes of meeting somebody, I know more about them than I normally should, and it's just, and I do crowds freak me out. Like, I'm just like, I gotta get out of here. I can't take it, and
Yep. Empath for sure. It sounds like.
I've never explored any of that, but definitely interesting.
So how would you say?
I'm just enjoying the path I'm on now.
So that's what I was going to ask you. So how would you say from the beginning of your, let's say, exploration of spirituality, meditation, from then until now, how would you describe the whole journey in a nutshell? Let's take it from an awareness perspective.
Yeah. I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean, from where I was 5 years ago, I was just a mess,
I think we lost Eric, guys. Just give us 2 minutes. Hi. Welcome back.
Hello.
Lost you. I was like, I think
what?
we lost Eric. Give me 2 minutes. I'm letting you call right back.
Yeah. So, what was the question again?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how you've changed as a person from this journey. When you first started meditating, and obviously we know that a lot of the education that you have on spirituality is self-taught, right? I mean, it's literally a journey where you're constantly learning. You're starting to read books on it. You get that initial feeling, you get that initial spark, and the feeling of bliss, and you're like, oh, I wanna keep, capturing that as often as possible. So, journey of self-education. I've seen that you go to temples, you travel, you literally seek out this feeling, right, of bliss.
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like from the beginning when you first started meditating until now, what does it take for a person to stay or sustain that spirituality, that evolution, that level? It's constant work, right? You constantly have to learn more, read, put yourself in those whole, places where you feel enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's constant work, but to call it work it's not the right word. I don't know what to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Effort. I would say effort.
It is, because you know what? There's times I slack off. Life happens, or things are just too damn good, and I'm at my most dangerous when everything's really good. Because that's when I'm like, oh, I don't gotta do this no more. Everything's fine.
Me
too.
I can relate. Yes.
Then when everything sucks, I'm like, oh yes, I forgot. Oh, please help me. And then
you're like, this is why
let me
everything
find
sucks.
my way. Thy will, not mine.
Yeah, you're like, this is why everything sucks, because I stopped meditating.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's personally different from anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to start, and I think people in the beginning, they expect too much out of it. I think they feel like they should sit down, they should have this meditation, and within a week they should be having these experiences, and it's not the case. You gotta. There's a famous, I don't know if the Buddha said it, but it's definitely a Buddhist saying. It's like you gotta have the patience for the mud to settle. For you to be able to, the water to clear so you can see yourself. And It's true. Like this is. I've been doing this for 3 years now, seriously, and I have times where I'm like, how come I'm not more advanced, or how come I'm not this, or how come, and that's just ego. That's I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I've had experiences. I've changed. I've grown tremendously as a person. And people are like, well, what do you gain from meditation? I don't gain anything. I lose anger. I lose frustration. I lose that negative self-talk, delusions, and, the more I do it, the more I'm not a slave to my mental chatter or my feelings. I used to be a very, very angry individual. And, now I thought it was impossible for me to have patience. I would be at work and tools would be getting thrown across the room, and now I can laugh. I see the cosmic giggle in it, It's been the frustration at work has always been there because I'm supposed to learn patience. And it's just, I've been doing this work for how long? And it's only been the past year where I figured it out. Annoying, like all this, it happens to me. Just annoying things will happen, like a bolt won't work or the nut. And I just start laughing because I'm like, here he is again, testing me. You know what I'm saying? And then it goes away. And it's a slow process, and us as Americans, or just people in general, we're so used to instant gratification, and
for sure,
it's not usually the case. You got to sit down, and it's gonna be hard. It's supposed to. Anything worth doing is hard. And you just got to stick with it. Most people do it a few times and they stop,
Yeah.
And, I got a friend who I really got into it. And, he just had to have another baby. He's got 2 kids, so it's hard for him. But he's like, yeah, I'm not meditating. I'm like, well, you need to get back on that. He feels it. I feel it when I'm not meditating. Just it all starts coming back, all that mental clutter and the negative thoughts and just the garbage that comes with it, So, I've changed a lot. I went from being very angry, frustrated, short-tempered, to having. I still get angry. I'm not perfect in any way, but I'm making progress. That's what this is all about. It's progress, not perfection.
Absolutely.
If I'm not moving, I got to move forward. If I'm not moving forward, I'm moving backwards.
I tell people that all the time. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to help people. I do hypnosis. Obviously this show is a passion project. I really want to raise awareness about certain topics. Has nothing to do with me being perfect. I've gone through my own problems, and I still get mad, and I still lose my cool, with certain situations or people who are abusive or verbally abused, any of that. I still have a hard time controlling myself in certain situations. But like you said, I'm working on it, though. Like, I'm actually trying, and I have made a lot of progress.
You're conscious of it.
Yes, and I'm proud of where I'm at now because I have moved through a lot. So I think that's the most beautiful message that you're sending out to the audience, is that you don't have to be perfect to help others, number one. And you don't have to get down on yourself every time you have a setback, number two. And even if you're feeling certain,
they're all lessons. It's all a lesson,
Exactly.
How else am I supposed to work on my anger problems if I don't run into problems that make me angry? How am I supposed to work on patience if I don't become impatient? How am I supposed to work on things if they don't appear in my life? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm human. I'm gonna have these issues. It's just, that's part of the process, is working on it and getting better.
Absolutely.
Being aware of it. Just being aware of it in the beginning is the major step. Because people, they don't even realize that emotions are totally running the show. You know what I'm saying? They're not in control. You know, it's like their thoughts and emotions are totally, they're possessed by them. You know, anytime an angry thought arises, they're automatically angry for the rest of the day. You know?
Yeah.
There's no thought of, oh, it's just an angry thought. You know what I'm saying? That thought can ruin them for a day, a week, a month sometimes, you know? And, you know, just it's a blessing just to be to step back and be able to be aware of it sometimes.
Definitely. There's so many times that I'm having, you know, a bunch of good days in a row. And like you said, I do try to meditate, even if it's just for 20 minutes. Like I said, I like to meditate in water. But if I'm having a lot of good days in a row, there are times where I skip it. And then I have a really heavy day. Somebody's, you know, being a jerk or whatever's going on. And, you know, somebody's irritating me or energies are just stressful in general.
Yeah.
And then it's my reminder that I need to get grounded again and, you know, cleanse my energy, release all the negative stuff. But it's the hardest to do. It's the hardest to do when you're going through stuff and to quiet your mind, like you're saying. Yes. But that's when you need it the most. So push yourself through it, guys. That's, you know, push yourself through it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Well, that's what they have to realize is you know, your comfort zone is actually your cage. You know,
Definitely.
if you're stuck in a certain parameters because you don't want to push through your comfort zone. Like every time you start to feel uncomfortable, I learned this early on in spirituality. And when I started getting sober, was every time I feel fear or uncomfortability, it's an opportunity for spiritual growth. Okay? Anytime I feel uncomfortable, I'm reaching the edges of my cage, my self-imposed cage that I've made with my mental constructs of likes, dislikes, preferences, you know what I'm saying? And once I start to feel uncomfortable, I got to realize, oh, you know what I'm saying, I'm reaching the edge of that. And you can push through that, you know, but it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to feel good. And, you know, actually, I would never be able to do this with you years ago. Speaking terrified me. The first public speaking event I ever went on, there was 4 people in the room. I was so nervous I threw up before I went in. Like that's how nervous I was. But when I got up there and talked and it came from the heart and I shared and wanted to help people, I felt good, you know, and little by little I just kept doing it more and more. I enjoyed it. You know, it feels good just to, you know, kick around the spiritual ideas and just talk about it, you know, and awareness.
Definitely. One of the things that I really like to do after I meditate is after I get myself to that calm, meditative state, I do a lot of visualization. So because I'm all about manifesting, obviously. Part of it though is, you know, the visualization is because, you know, you're manifesting all of these random thoughts that are going through your head all throughout the day, if you think about it, because our thoughts are creating our reality. So that's why I would tell people that, you know, meditation is so important, especially for me, you know, to each their own, but it can't hurt anybody. But definitely there's something about focusing on manifesting with intention, because it's all of your energy with intention focused on those things instead of all the random thoughts that you have all throughout the day that you're not intending, that you're not focusing on with intention, because that's the nature of us. We can't help it. That's what our minds do. So it's so important to focus on what you're trying to achieve with intention. Intention is so important.
Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I totally thought that was just make-believe, blah, 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 blah. But lately I've been doing a lot of it, and I've been experimenting with it. I'm like, wow, there is something to this. And you're absolutely right. That's like one thing they teach in Buddhist temples is your mind creates your reality, you know. And this one, I went to a couple retreats, and there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it imagination, but they make you visualize a lot of things. And I remember my mind just resisting. Why am I making all this stuff up? This is childish, blah, blah, blah. And something was like, Eric, just stop. Just do it. There's a reason why they're doing it, you know?
Wow.
And it's funny when you catch yourself, you know, like that mental chatter, you know, just it's resisting. So you know what? This is important to note. This happens to me all the time. Every time you make progress spiritually, there's always something trying to pull you back. And
You
I
know
don't
why?
know what that is.
I do.
Why?
Well, okay. From a psychological perspective, in hypnosis and just psychology in general, we're taught that the subconscious is a program, and the programming is pretty much set by the time you're about 7 years old, but not completely. So all the things that you've experienced throughout your life up until that point have programmed your subconscious. So all of your traumas are in your subconscious, and then your subconscious projects scenarios and situations or thoughts to prove that its programming is true.
Wow.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Right. So it's there to protect you, but in fact, it will actually overprotect you. So it will even hold you back from things that can help you grow, can help you reach that level of consciousness that your subconscious is like, oh, no, don't go there. That's scary. We don't want to do that. Because your subconscious, your subconscious is always trying to prove that the programming that's been done to it is true. It will even make you create the situation. So if you were abandoned as a child, or, you know, I'm just going to use this one example. There are so many, obviously. So if you were abandoned as a child, you might seek out relationships where, if that person isn't emotionally unavailable already, because that's probably the case if you were abandoned as a child, you may seek out people who are emotionally unavailable because your subconscious is trying to prove that its programming is true and it's protecting you from that. But what you may also do is actually self-sabotage your relationships in such a way that you are so unbearable or abusive to the person that you're with that they do abandon you, because your subconscious is like, well, see, I was right. So
yeah,
pretty trippy.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that.
So when you're meditating, you know, and you're taking on something that's unknown or risky for your subconscious, it's going to pipe up and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not sure how we feel about this, because, you know, maybe last time we explored a topic that was different. We got hurt, or whatever the scenario is that's in the subconscious, right? It's different from person to person. But it's amazing that you are aware of all of that. You know that those thoughts are coming up, and you know that you need to shut them down and to push yourself further to diminish those voices.
Yeah.
If you can, right? Like you said.
Yeah. I don't want to give anybody the impression I'm like this all the time. You know?
No.
I could be a jerk. I'm saying that's why we work on ourselves. You know.
Nobody's saying that either of us are. Just to make it clear, okay? I have all of my traumas that I had to work through, and I'm still working through. Trust me on that. In the last 3 months or so, 4 months, it was like a skyrocket of healing that I feel like I was probably blocking part of for about a couple of years. It was just like that extra way that I needed to go. So no perfection over here, and I totally understand what saying. You don't want to give the wrong impression. And,
Yeah.
we're just working on it. We're just working on it.
Yeah.
And we're just talking
Yeah.
about the tools and the ways
Yeah.
that we do work
This
on
is what
it.
works for me. Try it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And fortunately, I live in a good area because when I started seeking, I couldn't believe how much was around me. Thich Nhat Hanh has a Buddhist temple not too 45 minutes from me. There's 3 Buddhist temples within an hour of me. 4.
Yeah, I was going to go to one last time I was in New York. It's actually in Pennsylvania, though. I think it's
I haven't been to that one yet.
The one up on 97 around there? It's in,
the
Eldred
one I normally
area.
go to is up in Glens Bay by the Hawk's Nest. Remember the Hawk's Nest?
That's the one. Glens Bay, yes,
well,
exactly.
next time you come up, let me know. I will take you there. I love that. I do silent retreats there. It's awesome. Jen Sampson is the
okay.
Is like the main monk there who gives talks, and they're just amazing. On emptiness, and they do a lot of silent retreats, and I love it. The grounds are just so peaceful. Like you go walk around the temple, and it's like you can feel the peace emanating from the temple. It's like being in a Disney movie because there will be squirrels and birds just like walking next to you. Like I can't believe it. I'm like, look at this. This is like unreal.
I've heard it's amazing. A girlfriend of mine was like, "Please, let's go. Let's take a day trip." Anyway, she had some situation that she couldn't make it, and then I didn't go because I didn't even know where it was. But I was so excited, so I would love to go. And then I know a few people that we could get together to go who are, appreciative of that sort of environment.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to find a lot of people that really. I get people that are like, oh yeah, I would like to go. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going. Come on. They're like, oh well. I'm like, all right. It's.
Yeah, they say they want to go, but then they don't really go.
I know. It's so funny how people are like, oh, I wanna be free for myself, but yet they go running towards the things that enslave them. It's like
Yeah.
It's just it's when you step back and look at it, I'm just like, wow. It's like they want to be free, but they don't. And. To a certain degree, it's true for me because, I don't know if want me to get into that story about the.
Oh yeah, get into it.
The fungus with spiritual properties, but it was funny because I watched a documentary on Ram Dass. I read his book, Be Here Now, which is really good. And he did a lot of work with psilocybin and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And, him and Timothy Leary. There's a good two documentaries on Netflix. 3 now, I think. The first one's called Dying to Know, about Ram Dass and Timothy Leary. That's really good. And one's Walking, Going Home. There's another one I can't remember, but made me interested, to see if I could. I felt like I was kind of plateaued in my spiritual practices, so to say. So I was like, maybe I could take a shortcut, Let me take this little spiritual shortcut, see what I can do. So.
A little triggering.
Yeah, let's see what this has to offer, So, I there's lakes behind my house. I got woods and lakes behind my house. Perfect opportunity. I love nature. That's where I feel God, spirit. If you want to know about God, sit next to a mountain stream, and just listen. Feel the wind caressing your face and listen to the water, listen to the birds. It's something about it. Me and my friend go back there. And it was funny because I've been doing this. This is the one who wants nothing to do with spirituality, right?
Okay.
And we're best friends. And we have, the same dose, same environment, same everything. Okay, we make a little campfire, set up a camp. And it's funny because I brought like all my spiritual stuff. I got my mala, I got my little Hanuman shirt. You know, I'm all like decked out in all my trinkets, right? And I'm telling them about, you know, how I've grown spiritually and I'm not afraid to die anymore because that used to be a thing for me. And so we get the fire going. We're nice and comfortable, you know. Sunset's in about a half hour or so. You know, we eat. I start chewing on it. And as I'm chewing on it, I'm praying. And I'm going, please show me what it is that I've been wanting to see. You know, I want to see. I want to know why I'm doing all of this. What am I being drawn to? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there by the lake, staring at the water, and I'm looking down at this beetle. And this beetle crawls up my leg and just starts flying, and it goes, and I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. I got a tingle in the back of my head. I'm looking across the lake, and like the trees are just dancing, swaying back and forth. One looked like a praying mantis, dipped down into the water, took a drink. I was like, wow. I'm like, I'm like, I'm out there. I go to my buddy. I'm like, are you seeing any of this? And he's like, no, I wish I was.
Oh, wow.
So we trade spots. I get in the hammock, and he's sitting on the ground next to me. All of a sudden, like, I got into this mental state of I came out here to die. This is the whole reason why I came out here, was to die. And
wow.
I was sure I came, and I was like, isn't this wonderful? My best friend walks me to the edge. I go, isn't this? But then my ego, there was something. It was like I couldn't let go. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I can't die yet. I can't. What about my kids, my wife? I'm like, and then there was like this voice that wasn't me. It was soothing, going, it's okay. This is okay. It's gonna be okay. Dying, it's safe. And I did that. Now I'm just freaking out more and more because I feel myself getting pulled, you know, like out, away. I don't know how to describe it. And now I'm like, oh, no, I'm just going to call my wife because if I hear her voice, I know everything's going to be okay. And I went to look at my phone, and it was just like this endless void. I couldn't even use the phone. And I'm like, well, I'll hop on my quad. I had my quad there. I'm like, I'm going to get on the quad. I'm driving home. And this voice was in my head was like, there's nowhere to go. There is no hope. You are hope. It's going to be okay. And it was just like, I was like panicking now because now it's like I'm dying. I know I'm dying. This is what I came here to do. And it was weird. I hopped up out of the hammock, and my friend got in it, and I'm just sitting next to him, and I'm rocking. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not. My ego is just fighting, clinging, like clawing, like no, you know. And I looked at my friend, and it was just like, just take his hand when you're ready. Just take his hand. You know what I'm saying? And finally, it was like this thing in back. My mind was like, this is just the death of an organism. It was telling me like, this isn't. You're not dying. This body is dying. You know what I'm saying? And finally, I just grabbed my friend's hand, and like this energy, and he wasn't really sure, but he said he felt the energy just go between the both of us. And it was weird. I kind of just like closed my eyes, you know, and I was gonna let myself die for a quick second. And I opened them, and it was just like ego was kind of gone. Like there was just love. Like I loved everything. I loved the trees. I was hugging the trees. We had this soggy pile of wood that we had to keep the fire going. I loved the I loved everything. You know, I was just filled with love.
Wow.
And you know, it was the most terrifying and the most beautiful experience I've ever experienced in my whole life because it was showing me what it was like to actually die, and I did not enjoy that at all. My ego flailed, kicked, did not like it. The ego does not like to be destroyed. That's what holds us back. And what I found was I wasn't ready. It wanted to show me what was on the other side, but I still was clinging too much. You know, I was clinging to life, to my likes, just like family. You know, and that's what stopped me. and I wasn't as ready as I thought I was. I remember taking my mala off and putting it on the ground, the trinkets, and going, these are just trinkets. I saw that all these spiritual practices I was doing up to then, I was learning how to chant in Hinduism. I was learning all these different things, and it was feeding my ego more than it was feeding anything else, because I was like, oh, look, I can chant in Hindu, aren't I special?
Right.
And it was an eye-opening experience. It was like almost like tough love. Like, oh, you really want to see what's on the other side? No, you're not ready, but let's go. And it brought me right to the edge. And right before it broke me, it let me go. I said, okay, this is, and it was funny because as I started coming down, like different facets, my personality started coming back. Like, I remember the dad me came back, like the family me, and I started remembering, like, oh yeah, my family, responsibilities and this, that, and then it was funny. I went to put on my shirt and like I did like this Marine Corps chant. I haven't done it forever. Like the Marine me, like all these things that I thought make up me started coming back,
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of over. And the next day, I really didn't know what to make of it. Like I was kind of like just very serene and peaceful. But then it's like it was weird. My ego knew the jig was up. And man, it kicked and flailed. It kicked and flailed for, I would say, a good month. Like I was not okay. Tons of anxiety. I was obsessed about my own mortality.
Wow.
Even though I was shown that it was a peaceful, love. There's nothing scary about it. It was a loving. When I was dying, it was a peaceful, loving experience.
But it was an ego
but my
death.
ego, but my ego showed me how much how much ego work I still have to do. My ego is still strong, alive, and running the show more than I think it is.
Yeah.
So it was.
Well, it's part of us, right? So
yeah,
it's part of the existence that we are in this dimension.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like you were obviously experiencing the death of that in the moment, but then obviously you come back to this reality, and it's a physical, partially physical reality. So
yeah,
I can't imagine. I've never experienced that, so I can't really speak from any type of experience, obviously. But it sounds very, very eye-opening and interesting, and what a mind trip. And then to come back to reality after that and be like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah,
about?
I know. Just being totally faced with your own like ego and death. And it was weird. It was like I said, it was the most beautiful but yet the most terrifying experience I've ever faced in my life. And I really haven't had an interest in doing them again. It was like I kind of felt like I was cheating by trying to take a shortcut that I wasn't ready for. I thought I was ready for it, but I wasn't,
That's a good point.
So,
That's actually a really good point.
And I feel like it's important to talk about that because, like, I hear a lot of these people in these circles saying, these kind of substances can relieve anxiety. They always talk about, like, it'll heal everything. And it's not always the case. It can be dangerous. I was not okay for a whole month after that. They say it relieves anxiety. I was plagued by anxiety for a month or two afterwards.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was a great experience, but at the same time, it did have an effect on me. It wasn't as pleasant as it was. It was unpleasant also. It had side effects. I don't know how to explain it, but.
No, that makes sense. And maybe it's because it was forced in a way, like all at once, instead of a progression, how we're supposed to evolve over time or naturally or with meditation. It's a progression, and that wasn't. That's like a boom. Like
Instead of slowly getting immersed, you're getting thrown into the river, and
exactly.
And and it's exactly. I think it's like the Buddhist teachings on emptiness. You know, people think you're just going to get it, and you can spend a lifetime studying that and never get it. You know, and to think that you're going to get it, over a weekend or a retreat or a year is kind of just, it's ego. You're fooling yourself.
Mhm.
These are things that people study for years, and don't understand. That's it's with a lot of it. It's just patience. You got to learn how to just, little by little.
Mhm. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to join us today and tell such a really powerful story. It's amazing where you came from and the things that you had to endure as a child, all of that trauma, to be able to move through it like you did and to conquer your addictions and then get the help that you needed, but also to continue self-help, self-education, spiritual work. You're really on a journey, and you turned all of that into your purpose as a person, and you're helping other people, sharing your knowledge, sharing your story, and you're living proof that you don't have to be, the product of your circumstances per se. Like, you can move past that. You can literally,
absolutely.
it's your choice what you make of your own life and reality.
When you stop at saying, why is this happening to me, and ask, what does this have to teach me, that's when you start to live your life, because everything happens for a reason, and we don't have to understand it. There's things I still don't understand, but I'm convinced.
Mhm.
And it's you can learn from it, or you can suffer.
Right. Well, you definitely learned from it, and you turned it into something really positive. So I'm happy that you shared your story, so that it gives people hope. That they don't have to live at that lower vibrational frequency of what they had to survive. You're thriving. You're not surviving.
Oh, my life is amazing right now. It's been amazing for so long. I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm on a good run right now.
Yeah.
Things are great. And
do you ever look back and think, like, I can't believe that was me? Like, where you're at now, and I'm not saying you're perfect or anything like that, but where you're at now, you're healthy, you're happy, you're balanced, things are good.
Yeah. Well, I think you posted something that evolved so hard that people have to get to know you again. Did you post something like that?
I did. Of course.
I was like, yeah, because that's how that's how I feel. I mean, people that leaders, like, they'll be like, whoa, who are you? Because it is. I'm just a very different person.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to change. We're not supposed to stay the same, stagnant, people that we were. The whole purpose of this life is to grow and evolve. And if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's the reason why you don't feel comfortable in your skin. It's the reason why you're having the problems that you're having. Because you're not growing.
Right.
So
staying stuck. Don't stay stuck, guys. Don't stay stuck.
Exactly.
And here's the thing, with addiction or PTSD or trauma, it's not a smooth, incline. It's there's a lot of ups and downs. And it's okay if you have a setback. It's okay if you have a bad day or a bad week or a bad month. Just don't stay there. You're human. You can't beat yourself up forever about the setback, but just don't stay there. Just start taking steps.
I know. I know sometimes I feel like I'm spiritually bipolar at times, because there's times I could be like, oh, and other times I'm like, I am going to throw punch this guy in about 2 seconds. You know?
Of course.
Yeah,
And that's
you know?
the thing. We're not just spirits. We're humans.
Yeah.
You know, of course. I have people that really challenge my energy and really are so lower vibrational that, like, just the way they operate, it almost enrages me. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, why am I dealing with this again? So it's my mistake because I'm even involving myself in that, and I know where it's going to lead with certain people. So, and it's also like that self-control about not reacting to all of their bullshit. You know?
That is the hardest part.
It's so hard. So
that is the hardest part.
It
I
is.
know.
But anyway, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different things we could talk about. You know, we have a lot of similar interests. Your journey is very powerful, very insightful, and I'm sure that the audience was able to take away a lot of positive messages from your journey. So thanks for being on.
I hope so.
And you're welcome to come back on anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Give me a call. Yeah, if you're back in New York area soon, we'll go visit Kadampa. We'll get a crew together.
That's a good idea. We'll get a whole crew together. Go to it's a monastery, right? Is that what they call it?
Yep. Yeah.
We have them here, and some of them are from like the 13th, 14th century. And
that'd be cool. I would love to see one of those.
It's amazing. My kids love to go. We light candles. We pray. And I'm not religious, like, as far as, like, following a specific religion either. But I do like going to holy places or, you know, that type of environment because I can connect. And I don't need to believe in every religion to connect.
No,
just like yeah.
Look, a lot of it, the more I study it, the more I'm like, you take what you like and leave the rest, because they're all just trying to describe something that's indescribable, you know? And they're all just doing their best way of describing it, so.
Exactly.
Nobody's right. They're just all just trying to.
I just like to take the common denominators of all of them and, you know, it's like.
Basically,
Yeah. But anyway,
all right.
So great to talk to you. Thanks for being on the show. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow for another episode of A Billion Realities. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us today on A Billion Realities. Please stay tuned for next Wednesday's show at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, everyone.